My name is Emily Davis, and I'm 21 years old. After finishing culinary school, I started working at the coffee shop my parents own. We have many regular customers, and I really enjoy working there. I admire my parents for running the shop for so long. Working while studying was harder than I expected, but I was happy with my life. However, everything changed when I got an unexpected call from Bob. He told me his wife had an accident and sounded very worried. We didn't know much about the accident, but we were concerned for my sister-in-law. Bob asked if we could look after his kids while he went to the hospital, and we agreed right away. Bob brought the kids to our coffee shop, and they seemed confused, but I tried to make them feel comfortable. 2 hours later, Bob called again. We were relieved to hear that my sister-in-law was okay, but she had a bad sprained ankle and needed to rest for a while. Bob asked if we could continue taking care of the kids. At first, I was unsure if I could handle it. My parents run the coffee shop, and I also work there, so it would be hard to do this every day. But after talking it over with my parents, we decided I would look after the kids for 2 weeks. I was nervous because I didn't have much experience with kids, but they were well behaved, and things went smoothly. My mom helped me when I needed it. After 2 weeks, things settled down, and my sister-in-law was better. But then, I got another call from Bob. His wife still wasn't feeling well, and Bob asked if I could watch the kids again. I wasn't sure what to do, but I couldn't leave the kids without help, so I agreed to help occasionally. A few days later, my sister-in-law asked me to watch the kids again. I agreed, and the next day, I picked up the kids, took them to kindergarten, and then took care of them at home afterward. My mom would visit sometimes to check on things. At night, I fed the kids, bathed them, and waited for Bob to pick them up. He thanked me for helping, saying it was a lifesaver. Even though I was tired and unsure if I was doing the right thing, I didn't want to leave Bob's family without support. A few days later, I got another message from my sister-in-law asking for help again. I went to pick up the kids, dropped them off at kindergarten, and helped my parents at the cafe for a little while. When it was time to pick them up, I quickly left to get them. There were already a few people waiting to pick up their kids when I arrived. As I waited for my nephews to come out, I heard someone call my name. I turned around and was surprised to see Ashley, an older student I knew from school. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. She told me her child also went to the same kindergarten as my nephews. I wanted to talk more, but it wasn't really the right time, so we exchanged contact information and said goodbye. The next day, Ashley came to the cafe while I was working. My parents saw what was going on and told us we could chat when there were fewer customers. I took this opportunity to talk with Ashley. Ashley seemed to really like our cafe, which made me happy, but then, she suddenly became serious and said, "By the way, I saw your nephew's mom the other day." I was surprised by this and just nodded. She continued, saying she hadn't spoken to her, but she was sure it was her because they had talked before. Ashley seemed to struggle to find the right words, which made me curious, so I encouraged her to keep going. What Ashley said next shocked me. It seemed my mom had overheard the conversation too, and we made eye contact. After Ashley left, I asked my mom what she thought about what had been said. My mom replied, "Let's keep an eye on this situation for now," and I agreed. Then, one day, I got a call from Bob. I couldn't answer right away, and when I looked at my phone, I saw I had missed several calls from him. I quickly called Bob back, feeling confused and worried. I asked, "What's going on?" Bob answered in a tense voice, clearly trying to control his anger. He told me that when he went home to get something he had forgotten, he found the kids alone in the house. The house was supposed to be empty, and this shocked me. But then, I started wondering, why was Bob upset with me? As I tried to ask him, my questions seemed to make him even angrier. He yelled, "My wife told me she asked you to take care of the kids today, but you left them alone, and now you're talking back to me?" I was taken aback by his words, but there were things I needed to explain, so I said, "Yes, your wife did ask me, but I told her I couldn't do it today. My mom got sick last night, and we were short-staffed at the cafe. I had to work and didn't have time to look after the kids." After hearing my explanation, Bob went quiet. Then, he asked, "According to my wife, every time she asks you to help with the kids, you complain and demand payment. Is that true?" I couldn't help but raise my voice during the conversation. I said, "I've never asked for money. I've never said anything like that. I've been helping with the kids, and Mom knows that too. If you have any doubts, why don't you ask her?" When I said this, Bob went completely silent. After a pause, he muttered, "So what was this story about money that my wife mentioned?" I replied, "I have no idea. You should ask your wife about it. Bob, sounding tired, said, I'll do that. I was still upset but felt like I had to share something I had heard from Ashley. After hearing what I said, Bob sighed and said, give me some time to think, then hung up. As I started to calm down, I grew worried about Bob, so I told my mom everything that had happened. Time passed without any word from Bob, and my parents and I were getting concerned. Then, a few days later, I got another message from Bob's wife asking me to look after the kids again. At first, I thought about saying no. I had done so much for her and the kids, and I felt like I had been treated unfairly, but I also felt embarrassed knowing I had been talked about behind my back. My mom stopped me from replying right away. She suggested I contact Bob first, so I forwarded the message to him. A few minutes later, Bob replied. It seemed like he had been upset, but after our conversation, he seemed to have made up his mind. After hearing Bob's side, I agreed to help, and I told Bob's wife, okay, and went to pick up the kids as usual. After dropping the kids off at kindergarten, I called someone. Once the call ended, I took a deep breath, preparing myself for what was coming. When I arrived at the coffee shop, Bob was already there. He looked very tense, either nervous or anxious. It was the first time I had seen him like this, and I wasn't sure how to approach him. But then, my mom stepped in. She told Bob, I'll pick up the kids, so don't worry, you need to go home and talk things out with your wife, Emily. I'm counting on you. Bob, looking surprised by my mom's words, nodded. I nodded back at her, then said, okay, I'm off, and left with Bob. When we got to Bob's house, he stopped in front of the door, looking for his keys. I noticed his hands were shaking, but I pretended not to see. Inside the house, I could faintly hear voices, my sister-in-law and a few other women talking. Bob unlocked the door and quietly opened it. We stepped inside without making a sound, and I could hear their conversation clearly. One of the voices asked, so, how's your foot doing? I could hear my sister-in-law answering the woman's question. She said, oh, it's fine, almost completely healed. I thought to myself, I knew something felt off lately, but I quickly focused again on what she was saying. Then, she added, but once it's fully healed, my husband will probably find out, and I won't be able to relax like I do now. One of the women responded, oh, right, your sister-in-law and her parents are looking after the kids, right? How lucky. My sister-in-law replied, yeah, really lucky that Emily isn't married. I'm so grateful to have an unemployed, single person living at home. Hearing this made me angry. I had suspected my sister-in-law might be taking advantage of us, but I never imagined she'd think so badly of me. My anger reached its limit, and I burst into the living room, glaring at her. Yes, I'm not married, and I live at home, but I'm not just doing nothing. I thought we were helping because you needed it. I didn't think you'd talk about it like this. But my sister-in-law wasn't focused on what I was saying. Instead, she looked confused and asked, why are you here? How did you get in? Just then, I felt a tap on my shoulder and stepped back. She finally noticed Bob, and her eyes widened. Bob, with a cold voice, said, I let her in. You've been lying to me all this time. You're the worst. You've been using the money I gave you for yourself instead of giving it to Emily. My sister-in-law turned pale. I walked over to her friends and told them it was time to leave. Everyone left with awkward expressions on their faces. As my sister-in-law's friends were leaving, one person made eye contact with me. It was Ashley, my senior from school. She had interacted with my sister-in-law before and seemed to be concerned about her recent behavior. When we unexpectedly met again, Ashley offered to help with the situation. Once all the friends had left, my sister-in-law started crying and told her side of the story. To sum it up, she explained that after the birth of their second child, taking care of the kids became really difficult. Bob was always busy with work and couldn't help with childcare or housework, which made things harder for her. When she got injured, my mom and I helped, which made things easier, and she ended up relying on us. Regarding the money Bob gave her, she admitted that she hadn't had any spending money since she got married and couldn't resist using the money Bob gave her. I wasn't completely convinced by my sister-in-law's excuses. Sensing my doubt, Bob suggested it was time to leave, and I agreed. I left his house with him. When I got home, my mom was waiting with a worried look on her face. It seemed like my dad was taking care of my nephews, so I explained everything to her. She listened and said, I see, this is a problem between the two of them, and then went back to my nephews. My nephews, not knowing what was happening, smiled and called out, Aunt Emily. Despite feeling conflicted, I did my best to hide my emotions and smiled back. A few hours later, Bob returned home and said he would stay at our parents' house for the night. My mom, understanding, simply said, "I see." After putting the kids to bed, Bob explained his decision to our parents and me. He said, "I won't divorce her this time, but if she does this again, I'll consider it." Bob apologized for what I had gone through, and he also apologized to my mom. I told him it was okay, but I asked if he was sure about his decision. Bob nodded and said, "Yeah, after talking to my wife, I realized I'm partly to blame. We've decided to give it another try." I asked Bob what he meant. He said, "I've been focused on work and haven't paid enough attention to my wife. I left all the responsibility for the kids to her, and I now realize that it put too much pressure on her. I've been unfair to both her and the kids. I should have spent more quality time with them." I had mixed feelings hearing this, but my mom spoke up. She said, "As an individual, it's hard to forgive what your wife did to us, but as a wife and mother, I can understand some of her feelings. If this is the decision you both have made, I won't oppose it, but don't involve others in your problems again." Bob nodded and bit his lip, clearly affected by my mom's words. Since then, neither Bob nor my sister-in-law have asked anything of me. I haven't even seen her once. My father is still angry, saying she can't even apologize, but honestly, I prefer not to see my sister-in-law because it would just bring back bad memories. When I told Bob how I felt, he promised, "I understand. I'll try to make sure you don't have to meet her again." Thanks to that, my daily life returned to normal. One day, I heard the bell at the coffee shop and turned around. At the entrance stood Bob, with my nephews beside him. As soon as my nephews saw me, they let go of Bob's hand and ran over to me, calling my name. I smiled and greeted them happily. While the kids were chatting with my parents over cake, Bob quietly told me that although my sister-in-law was sorry, she didn't like the kids visiting me because they were so fond of me. Hearing this, I couldn't help but think it was her own fault. I know there may come a time when I have to face my sister-in-law again, but right now, it doesn't seem like I'll forget what she did to me anytime soon.
The notification from my banking app lit up my phone screen. Transfer complete, $2,000 sent to Julia G. I stared at it while waiting for my instant ramen to cook in the office microwave, trying to ignore the growl in my stomach. That transfer meant plain noodles for dinner again, but mom and dad needed the money more than I needed takeout. My name is Viviana, and for the past 5 years, I've sent half my paycheck home every month. It started when dad lost his job at the manufacturing plant. I still remember mom's tears during that first desperate call. "Mi amor, we don't know what to do," she'd sobbed. "The mortgage, your father's medication." I'd promised to help until they got back on their feet. That was 2018. Now it's 2023, and I'm still their ATM. The microwave beeped. As I stirred my sad dinner, my coworker Jessica walked in with a bag of Thai food that made my mouth water. "Girl, you're killing it in finance, but eating like a college student," she said, eyeing my cup noodles. "Come on, let me treat you to real food." I shook my head. "Thanks, but I'm good. Just trying to save money." "For what? That promotion's basically yours. You should celebrate." If only she knew. The promotion would mean more money for home, not me. I pulled out my phone, thumbing through Instagram to distract myself. My younger brother Zach's latest post popped up, him grinning beside a shiny Tesla, caption reading, "New toy, blessed." My chopsticks froze halfway to my mouth. That car had to cost at least 60 grand. How did he? "Viviana," Jessica's voice snapped me back. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Yeah, just my brother got a new car. Weird timing with my parents struggling so much." Jessica frowned. "The ones you send money to every month? Maybe they're doing better than—" "They're not," I cut her off, perhaps too sharply. "Zach probably leased it or something." That weekend, I decided to surprise my parents with a visit. The 2-hour drive from New York to their house in New Jersey gave me too much time to think. I'd canceled my dental work last month to send extra money when mom said their heating bill was overwhelming. The month before that, I'd backed out of my best friend Serena's destination wedding because the flights were too expensive. I pulled up to their familiar two-story house around noon, noting Dad's old Camry in the driveway. But as I reached for the front door handle, voices drifted through the open kitchen window. "And she actually believed we needed money for your father's heart medication." Mom's laugh rang out. "Ay, mijijo, you should have seen her face when I cried on the phone." "Mom, you're evil," Zach's voice replied, amused. But thanks for the help with the down payment. This car is sick. You deserve it, baby. Your sister makes good money. She can afford to help her family. Did you see her last month? Still wearing that same old coat from college? She's either stupid or just cheap. My hand fell from the door handle. The world tilted sideways as 5 years of sacrifices crashed down around me. Speaking of Vivi, Zach continued, don't tell her about the condo closing next week. She might get suspicious if she knows I'm buying property. Please, Mom scoffed. That girl would believe anything. Remember when your father pretended to be laid off? She started sending money the next day. Antonio didn't even have to try hard. One sad phone call, and she opened her wallet. They were laughing, actually laughing about deceiving me. My phone buzzed, another bank notification. The transfer I'd made an hour ago had cleared $2,100 of my hard earned money sent to people who were mocking me through an open window. I backed away silently, tears burning my eyes. In my car, I pulled up my banking app with trembling fingers. 5 years of transfers, 60 months of halved paychecks, over $100,000 gone to fund my brother's luxury lifestyle while I ate ramen and delayed medical care. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Mi amor, did you get my message about the extra utilities this month? We're a little short. I stared at it until the screen went dark, then started my car. The entire drive back to New York, their laughter echoed in my head. But underneath the hurt, something else was building, a cold, precise anger that felt like clarity. They wanted to play games with money? Fine. I'm a financial analyst. Numbers are my language, and I was about to become very, very fluent in the dialect of revenge. You haven't touched your wine in 20 minutes, Serena said, studying me across our tiny apartment kitchen table. And you're doing that thing with your spreadsheets where you look like you're planning a murder. I barely glanced up from my laptop. 3 browser windows were open, my bank statements, Zach's Instagram, and a timeline I was building in Excel. Not murder, just connecting some dots. It's midnight on a Tuesday, she pressed. What dots need connecting at midnight? I spun my laptop around to show her. See this post? Zach with his Tesla, dated March 15th. Now look at my bank statement from March 12th, a $4,000 emergency transfer because Mom said their roof was leaking. Serena leaned forward, wine forgotten. No way. Oh, it gets better. I clicked through more tabs. This is his new condo listing, $450,000. And here's Mom's text from last year about Dad needing cardiac surgery. Guess what? No surgery. But I sent them $15,000 for medical bills that mysteriously lined up with Zach's down payment timing. Those manipulative pieces of... My phone buzzed. Mom's face lit up my screen. Answer it, Serena whispered. But put it on speaker. I took a deep breath and clicked accept. Hi, Mom. Viviana. Mi amor, thank God you answered. Your father and I are in a terrible situation. Let me guess. I cut in, my voice steady. You need money. Don't be cruel, mija. The property taxes are due in December. It's April. A pause, then, how dare you take that tone with me after everything we've done for you? Everything you've done for me? The laugh that escaped me didn't sound like my own. Or everything I've done for Zach? Dead silence on the other end. Then, what are you talking about? The Tesla, Mom, the condo, the Rolex, the vacations. Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? You have a good job. Her voice turned shrill. You owe us. We raised you, educated you. And I paid you back 10 times over, every month for 5 years. But it wasn't enough, was it? You needed me to keep paying while you funded Zach's Instagram lifestyle. You ungrateful little... I hung up. My hands were shaking, but it felt good. Clean. Serena whistled low. That was intense. You okay? Before I could answer, my email pinged. A notification from my bank about a new account statement. Weird, I hadn't opened any new accounts. Hold on, I muttered, clicking the link. This can't be right. What? There's a loan account in my name. $30,000 opened 6 months ago. I scrolled through the details, my stomach dropping. I never authorized this. Serena grabbed her own laptop. Give me your social security number. Why? Because I work in cybersecurity, and we're going to run a credit check right now. 20 minutes later, we stared at the results in horror. 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, A car lease, all in my name, all opened within the last year. They didn't just lie to you, Serena said quietly. They committed fraud, identity theft. This is criminal. My phone was exploding with texts from Mom. Answer your phone. You're breaking my heart. After everything we've sacrificed, your father is crying. The last one made me laugh, a harsh, broken sound. Dad's crying? Funny how he cries on command whenever they need money. Serena touched my arm. Vivi, this is serious. They could destroy your credit, your career. She was right. I worked in finance. My credit score and reputation were everything. If anyone at my firm found out about these fraudulent accounts, I need to document everything, I said, opening a new folder on my laptop. Every transfer, every text, every loan, every lie. And then what? I thought about Mom's laughing voice through the kitchen window, about 5 years of ramen dinners and canceled plans, about the look on Zach's face in his Tesla photo, not just happy, but smug. Then I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what they did. I named the folder File 3762, the number from my birth certificate. They used my identity for their games. Now I'm taking it back. Serena was already typing on her phone. My ex Victor works for the Financial Times now. He specializes in fraud exposés. She looked up, eyes gleaming. Want me to make a call? I stared at the growing file of evidence on my screen, at Mom's manipulative texts, at the fraudulent loans that could ruin me. 5 years of being the dutiful daughter, the reliable ATM, the obedient fool. Make the call, I said. It's time everyone saw the truth. Victor looked exactly like the kind of journalist who'd take down a family fraud scheme. Rumpled shirt, dark circles under his eyes, and a coffee cup that probably hadn't been washed in days. He spread my documents across his desk, whistling softly. This is comprehensive, he said, flipping through File 3762. Most people who get scammed by family keep messy records, but you've got everything cataloged by date, amount, and type of manipulation, even screenshots of the guilt trip texts. I'm a financial analyst, I replied. Documentation is what I do. He held up a printed Instagram post, Zach lounging on a beach in Bali. This vacation, posted the same week your mom said your dad needed emergency dental work. $7,000 of emergency dental work, I confirmed. Funny how Dad's teeth needed fixing exactly when Zach wanted to go island hopping. Serena, who'd been quiet until now, leaned forward. Show him the loan documents, Vivi. Victor's eyebrows shot up as I handed him the credit report. Holy shit, they didn't just manipulate you for cash, they straight up stole your identity. My mother has all my information, social security number, birth certificate, everything. I trusted her. Trust is how they get you. He tapped the papers thoughtfully. But this story, it's not just about family betrayal. It's about financial abuse, identity theft, generational exploitation. The immigrant daughter success story turned nightmare. My throat tightened. Will you publish it? Anonymous source, of course, he said. But yeah, this needs to be told. People need to know how easily family can destroy you financially. My phone buzzed, another text from Mom. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof because of your accusations. If anything happens to him, it's your fault. I showed it to Victor, who took a photo. More evidence of emotional manipulation. They're making it easy for us. Speaking of evidence, Serena cut in, show him what you found last night. I pulled out the property records. They sold a piece of land in my name, property I never owned, never signed for. The signatures are forged. Victor's eyes widened. That's federal fraud territory. Have you contacted the FBI? Not yet. I wanted to get the story out first. Once it's public, they can't sweep it under the rug. Smart. He started typing on his laptop. I'll have the first draft ready in 2 days. But Viviana. He looked up seriously. This will blow up. Your family will know it's you. Are you ready for that? Before I could answer, my phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Viviana, this is Vanessa from HR. My stomach dropped. Could you come to my office? There's something we need to discuss about your tax forms. I ended the call, hands shaking. My company's HR wants to see me, something about taxes. They must have found the fraudulent accounts, Serena said quietly. Victor was already gathering the documents. Go, deal with work. I'll start writing. But Viviana? He handed me his card. The minute they threaten you, legally, emotionally, whatever, you call me. This story just got bigger. An hour later, I sat across from Vanessa Dixon, watching her frown at her computer screen. These discrepancies, she began carefully. Multiple loans opened in quick succession, credit cards with unusual spending patterns, and tax documents that don't match our records. I can explain. Please do. Because right now it looks like either fraud or money laundering. I took a deep breath and pulled out my copy of File 3762. My family stole my identity. I have the proof, and a journalist is about to break the story. Her expression shifted from suspicion to shock as she read, "Oh my God, Viviana, I'm so sorry. Will I lose my job?" No. She closed the file firmly. You're the victim here, but you need legal protection. I have a friend who specializes in identity theft cases, pro bono work for financial abuse victims. I can't afford. Pro bono means free. She was already dialing. Hello, Maria. I have a case you need to see. Family identity theft, looking at around 100,000 in damages. As Vanessa talked, my phone lit up with a text from Victor. Story draft done. It's strong. Ready when you are. Another text popped up from Mom. We're coming to New York tomorrow. This disrespect ends now. I showed both messages to Vanessa, who covered the phone receiver. Don't meet them. Not without a lawyer present. This isn't just about money anymore. They're trying to control the narrative. I thought about all the times they'd controlled my narrative, my money, my life. Tell Victor to publish it, I said, my voice steady. Tomorrow morning, before they get here. It's time everyone saw who they really are. Vanessa nodded, a fierce look in her eyes. Maria, how fast can you file an emergency protection order? The wheels were in motion. By this time tomorrow, my family's perfect facade would shatter, and for once I wasn't worried about picking up the pieces. The article went live at 6 a.m. By 7, my phone was a war zone of notifications. By 8, when I walked into my parents' hotel lobby, the family fraud was trending on Twitter. Miss? The receptionist looked uncertain. Those people you mentioned? They're in the restaurant. I nodded, straightening my blazer. Maria, my lawyer, touched my arm. Remember, don't admit to the article. Don't sign anything. Don't let them isolate you. They were easy to spot. Mom was gesturing wildly, Dad stared into his coffee, and Zach scrolled through his phone with a scowl. Perfect little family coming apart at the seams. Viviana! Mom stood up, arms outstretched. Mi amor! Sit down, I said quietly. This isn't a reunion. How dare you take that tone? Mrs. Gonzalez, Maria cut in smoothly. I'm Maria Rivera, your daughter's attorney. Shall we discuss the unauthorized loans taken in her name? Mom's face went from loving to livid in seconds. Attorney? You brought a lawyer to a family breakfast? Family? I laughed. Is that what you call people you steal from? Dad finally looked up. Mija, please, we can explain everything. Explain what? The forged signatures, the fake medical emergencies, or how about the property you sold in my name? Zach slammed his phone down. Have you seen what's happening online? Some journalist wrote about our family. We're being destroyed on social media. That's your concern? I pulled out the loan documents. I could go to jail because of the fraud you committed, and you're worried about your Instagram comments? Fraud? Mom's voice rose. We're your parents. Everything we did was for this family. You mean for him? I pointed at Zach. The Tesla, the condo, the vacations, all funded by my sacrifices and stolen identity. Your brother needed. I needed dental surgery. I needed an apartment without roaches. I needed to not eat ramen for 5 years while you funded his lifestyle. The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners were staring. Lower your voice, Dad whispered. People are watching. Good. I met his eyes. Let them watch. Let them see exactly what you did. He crumpled, suddenly looking old. We did sell that property. We thought you wouldn't notice. Your brother needed the down payment for his condo and what? You decided theft was easier than telling him no? It wasn't theft, Mom hissed. We're family. Everything belongs to all of us. Maria pulled out her tablet. Actually, Mrs. Gonzalez, identity theft within families is still a federal crime. Would you like to see the statutes? We don't need to see anything. Mom stood up, trembling. Viviana, if you don't drop this ridiculous crusade right now, you are no longer our daughter. Think carefully about your next move. I stood too, feeling strangely calm. My next move? Check your email. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit would like to speak with you about the forged property documents. They're very interested in family fraud cases. You wouldn't, Zach whispered. I already did, this morning. I picked up my bag. Oh, and Zach? Those loans you took out in my name? They're being investigated too. Hope the Tesla was worth it. You evil, ungrateful. Mom started forward, but Maria stepped between us. Mrs. Gonzalez, that's enough. Any further harassment will be added to the restraining order application. Restraining order? Dad's voice cracked. Viviana, please, we're your parents. We only wanted to help Zach have a better future. I finished. I heard you the first 100 times, but what about my future? The one you destroyed? My phone buzzed. Vanessa from HR. Board meeting emergency. They saw the article. Need you here ASAP to discuss impact on company reputation. I have to go, I said, gathering my things. My career, the one that funded your schemes, needs saving. If you walk away now, Mom called after me, don't ever come back. I turned at the restaurant entrance. They looked small suddenly. Mom with her self righteous anger, Dad with his convenient weakness, Zach with his entitled scowl. 5 years of power over me, broken by truth. Don't worry, I said. I won't. Outside, Maria touched my shoulder. You okay? I watched through the window as Mom collapsed into dramatic sobs, as Dad patted her hand, as Zach returned to his phone, probably checking his crumbling social media empire. No, I answered honestly, but I will be. My phone buzzed again, a text from Victor. Stories exploding, national outlets picking it up. You started a conversation about financial abuse in families. People are coming forward with their own stories. I took one last look at my family, still playing their roles in their private drama, but I didn't have a part in that play anymore. I had a board meeting to attend, a reputation to defend, and a future to reclaim. Let's go, I told Maria. I have other battles to fight now. The article has over 2 million views, Victor said, scrolling through analytics on his laptop. Reddit, TikTok, Twitter, it's everywhere. A family fraud and toxic parents are still trending. We sat in Serena's living room, surrounded by takeout containers and open laptops. 3 days had passed since the confrontation at the hotel. Look at these comments, Serena pointed to her screen. My parents did the same thing with my student loans. My sister stole my identity and mom covered it up. You've started a movement, Vivi. My phone pinged with another notification. Great, Mom's trying to tell her side of the story on Facebook. Victor leaned over to read. My ungrateful daughter has twisted our love into something ugly. Everything we did was for family. Now she's destroyed her brother's career and broken her mother's heart. Classic Darvo, Maria said from the couch. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Your mother's playing straight from the manipulator's handbook. Another notification popped up. Zach had posted a video. Oh, this should be good, Serena muttered, hitting play. My brother's tear-streaked face filled the screen. Guys, I know you've all seen that article, but please hear me out. I never knew where the money came from. My parents said they had savings. Liar, I whispered. He literally thanked Mom for getting the money from me. And now I might lose everything. My job, my car, my home. All because my sister decided to get revenge. That's not revenge, Victor interrupted. That's consequences. My phone rang. Vanessa from HR. The board made their decision, she said when I answered. They're keeping you on. Your documentation and transparency saved your position. But, they want you to make a public statement. Distance the company from the scandal. I put her on speaker. What kind of statement? Professional, firm, no emotional language. Focus on being a victim of identity theft who took legal action. Don't mention family dynamics. Maria nodded approvingly. That's smart. Keep it about the financial crimes, not the family drama. After hanging up, I checked my email. 20 new messages from relatives. How could you do this to your parents? Family matters should stay private. Your poor brother's reputation is ruined. They're all taking their side, I said, closing the laptop. Every single one. Because you broke the cardinal rule, Serena replied. Never expose family secrets. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. If you don't retract this story and apologize publicly, we'll sue you for defamation. Everything we did was legal. We're your parents. We had authority. Maria grabbed my phone and took a screenshot. Perfect. More evidence of attempting to cover up fraud. Keep these coming, Mrs. Gonzalez. Victor's phone buzzed. Oh, this is interesting. Your brother's company just released a statement. They're parting ways due to recent revelations about financial impropriety. Translation: they fired him for being a fraud. Serena smirked. Another notification, a message from Dad. Your mother's in the hospital. Stress attack. Are you happy now? Before I could respond, Maria took my phone. Don't engage. They're trying to provoke an emotional response they can use against you. Look at this, Victor said suddenly, turning his laptop. A new article had popped up. Financial abuse in families, a hidden epidemic. The piece cited my story and included interviews with experts on familial identity theft. The comments section was flooding with similar stories. You're not alone, Serena said softly. You just said what everyone else was afraid to say. My phone pinged again, a video message from Mom. Against Maria's advice, I played it. Mom's face appeared, tears streaming. How could you do this? After everything we sacrificed? Your father can't sleep. Zach lost his job. Our neighbors won't talk to us. The shame you've brought on this family. Notice how it's all about their suffering, Maria observed. Not a word about what they did to you. The comments on her Facebook are brutal, Serena reported. Toxic mother gets exposed. Financial abuser plays victim. They're not buying her act. Victor's phone buzzed. CNN wants to interview you. Anonymous, of course, voice distorted, identity protected. I stared at Mom's paused video, her tearful face frozen mid-manipulation. For years, those tears had controlled me, guilted me, emptied my bank account. Tell CNN yes, I said, but not anonymous. Not anymore. Are you sure? Maria asked. Once you show your face, there's no going back. Another text from Mom. If you continue this vendetta, you'll regret it. Family is forever. I looked at the message, then at the supportive faces around me, my chosen family, the ones who stood by me when blood family became bloodsuckers. Family is forever? I clicked reply. Watch me end forever in one interview. The CNN studio lights felt hot on my face as the anchor Diana leaned forward with practiced sympathy. So, Viviana, what made you finally decide to come forward? I gripped the water glass they'd given me. Finding out my father's medical emergency was actually my brother's Tesla payment. 5 years of lies crashed down in one moment. And the loans? The identity theft? Over $90,000. I pulled out my phone, showing the banking app. That's not counting the property they sold in my name or the credit cards. Your parents claim they had authority as family. They didn't, Maria cut in from beside me. Parental authority doesn't extend to forging signatures or committing federal fraud. The interview aired live. Somewhere, my family was watching their carefully constructed lies unravel on national television. My phone vibrated. Dad calling. I declined it. Your brother recently posted a video claiming innocence. Diana continued. How do you respond? I have texts proving he knew. I handed over screenshots. Here's him thanking our mother for convincing Vivi to help with the down payment. That was a month I canceled my dental work to send money home. The producer signaled for a close-up of the texts. Zach's smug words filled the screen. LOL, can't believe she fell for the roof repair story again. Diana's expression hardened. This seems less like family helping family and more like systematic exploitation. That's exactly what it was. I straightened in my chair. They used my love as a weapon against me? The studio door burst open. Mom stormed in, Dad trailing behind her. Cut the cameras! She screamed. This is family business! Security moved forward, but Diana held up a hand. Mrs. Gonzalez, you're interrupting a live broadcast. I'm stopping my daughter from destroying our family. Mom turned to me, tears already flowing. Mija, please, your father's heart is fine, I finished. Just like it was fine when you said he needed surgery, but bought Zach a Rolex instead. The cameras swiveled between us, millions watching, no place to hide. Everything we did was for family, she sobbed. No. I stood up. Everything you did was for Zach. I was just the ATM. You ungrateful Mrs. Gonzalez. Maria interrupted. Every word you say is being recorded. Would you like to explain the forged property documents on live television? Mom's face changed. The tears vanished. You think you've won? We'll sue you for every penny. We'll tell everyone what an awful daughter you are. You'll what? I pulled out more papers. Contest the fraud charges? The FBI has these too. Bank records, forged signatures, fake loan applications. Want to explain those to the viewers? Dad stepped forward. Viviana, please. We can fix this privately. Like you fixed it when I confronted you at the hotel? Or when Mom threatened to sue me? Or when Zach tried to play victim on social media? Diana's voice cut through. Mr. Gonzalez, did you knowingly participate in defrauding your daughter? He stammered. I. We. It wasn't fraud. We're family. Family doesn't steal identity, I said quietly. Family doesn't exploit love for profit. Family doesn't destroy someone's financial future for another child's luxury cars. Security finally reached them. Mom struggled as they led her out, screaming, After everything we did for you! What did you do for me? I called after her. Besides, steal my money, ruin my credit, and lie to my face for 5 years? The studio fell silent. Dad looked at me one last time before following Mom out. Well, Diana said after a moment, that was unexpected. My phone buzzed with a text from Zach. You've ruined everything. Hope you're happy. I showed it to the camera. See? Still no acknowledgement. No apology. Just blame. What happens now? Diana asked. Maria answered. The FBI investigation continues. Civil suits for damages, and a restraining order hearing next week. And personally? Diana turned to me. I thought about Mom's tears, Dad's weakness, Zach's entitlement, about 5 years of sacrifice for people who saw love as a transaction. I'm done, I said simply. Done being guilty, done being manipulated, done being the family ATM. They can find another victim. Any message for viewers in similar situations? I looked directly into the camera, thinking of all the comments, all the people sharing their own stories of family financial abuse. Check your credit report, save your evidence, and remember, real family doesn't steal from you, real family doesn't exploit you, and real family certainly doesn't destroy your future to fund someone else's luxury lifestyle. As we wrapped up, my phone lit up with messages of support, but one caught my eye, from Vanessa at HR. Board watched the interview. They're impressed with your professionalism. London office transfer approved if you want it. Fresh start. I smiled. Maybe it was time for a new chapter, one where family meant chosen family and love didn't come with a price tag. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension. My parents sat on one bench, Zach on another, all avoiding eye contact. Maria reviewed documents beside me while Serena squeezed my hand. Civil court was the right choice, Maria murmured. Faster than criminal proceedings, and the burden of proof is lower. They're still claiming parental authority? I asked. Your mother is. Your father. She nodded toward Dad, who looked like he'd aged a decade. He's willing to testify about the fraud. Mom's head snapped up. Antonio, don't you dare! A bailiff appeared. All parties in the Gonzalez financial fraud case, please enter. The courtroom felt smaller than I'd imagined. Judge Patterson, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, studied the paperwork. Quite the media circus you've created, she noted. Let's see if the evidence matches the headlines. Maria stepped forward. Your Honor, we have documented proof of systematic financial abuse spanning 5 years. Bank records, forged documents, text messages showing intent to deceive. Mom's lawyer interrupted. Your Honor, this is a family matter that's been grossly mischaracterized. Parents have certain rights. Parents have rights, Judge Patterson cut in. Identity theft isn't one of them. Continue, counselor. I took the stand first. The familiar documents projected onto a screen, bank transfers, loan applications, property deeds. Walk us through March 15th, Maria said. My mother called crying about Dad's emergency dental surgery. I transferred $7,000. I pointed to the bank statement. 3 days later, my brother posted photos from his Bali vacation. Objection, Mom's lawyer called. Instagram posts aren't evidence. The timestamps and bank records align perfectly, Maria countered, as do Mr. Gonzalez's dental records showing no procedures that month. Judge Patterson leaned forward. Mr. Gonzalez, did you receive dental treatment in March? Dad stood slowly. No, Your Honor. The money, it went to Zach's vacation. Antonio! Mom shrieked. How dare you? I'm tired of lying, Dad said quietly. Tired of watching our daughter suffer while we spoiled our son. Zach jumped up. Dad, shut up! You're ruining everything! Order! Judge Patterson banged her gavel. Mr. Gonzalez, please continue. Dad's testimony spilled out. The fake medical emergencies, the forged signatures, the property sale. With each revelation, Mom's face grew darker. And the loans? The judge pressed. Julia, Your Honor, my wife handled those. She had Viviana's social security card, her birth certificate, which were stolen from my apartment, I added, during a surprise visit last year. Maria presented the credit reports. Multiple loans and credit cards, all opened without my client's knowledge or consent, total damages exceeding $120,000. That money was for family, Mom burst out. Viviana had a good job. She owed us. Judge Patterson's eyes narrowed. Mrs. Gonzalez, are you admitting to knowingly committing identity theft? Mom's lawyer tried to intervene, but she was on a roll. We raised her. We sacrificed everything. She had money while her brother struggled. Her brother? The judge interrupted. Who posted about his new Tesla the same week you claimed to need money for life-saving medication? Zach slumped in his seat as his social media posts appeared on screen. The car, the condo, the vacations, all time-stamped to match my emergency transfers. Given the overwhelming evidence, Judge Patterson declared, this court finds in favor of the plaintiff. All fraudulent loans are to be transferred to the defendant's names, damages of $120,000 to be paid in restitution. She turned to my parents. Additionally, I'm issuing a restraining order. No contact, no social media harassment, no financial access. And Mr. Zachary Gonzalez? My brother looked up. The FBI has questions about your role in this fraud. I suggest you get a good lawyer. Mom collapsed in theatrical sobs. Dad just nodded, looking relieved it was over. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Mom pushed through them, screaming about appeals and ungrateful children. Zach skulked away, already on his phone, probably calling his influencer friends for help. Dad approached me alone. Mija, I'm sorry. I know it's not enough, but you're right. I cut him off. It's not enough. 5 years, Dad. You watched me struggle for 5 years and said nothing. I was weak, he whispered, but testifying today, it was the first strong thing I've done in years. Good for you. I turned away. But I'm done being strong for all of you. Serena appeared with my coat. Ready? The car's waiting. Car? Dad asked. I'm taking the London transfer, I told him. New city, new start, no toxic family drama. His face crumpled. Will we ever see you again? I thought about the years of lies, the stolen money, the betrayal masked as love. That depends on you. All of you, but for now, I need distance that can't be measured in dollars. The reporters surged forward as we left, but I had nothing left to say. The court had spoken, the truth had won, and somewhere across the ocean a new life waited, one where family meant more than an ATM code. Welcome to London, Ms. Financial Analyst. Serena's face beamed from my laptop screen during our weekly video chat. How's the new flat? I panned my camera around the sunny Notting Hill apartment. Small but perfect, and completely paid for by my own money. Any word from the family? Mom's still posting dramatic Facebook updates about her ungrateful daughter. I scrolled through my phone. Dad sends occasional emails, mostly apologies and updates about therapy. Zach's influencer career tanked after the fraud charges. Speaking of charges, Serena leaned closer to her camera. Did you see the support group you inspired? Children of Financial Abuse has over 20,000 members now. A notification popped up on my screen, an email from Victor. Story follow-up getting massive response. Publishers interested in a book deal. Call me. A book? Serena squealed. Girl, you have to do it. Maybe. I sipped my tea. Proper English breakfast tea now, not the cheap bags I used to ration. But first, look at this. I held up a letter from my bank. My credit score had finally recovered, climbing back to where it belonged after the fraud alerts were cleared. You did it, Serena said softly. You really did it. My doorbell rang. Hold on. That's my delivery. I opened the door to find a courier with a thick envelope. Legal documents from Maria. The final restitution payment had cleared. Mom and Dad had sold their house to cover the court-ordered damages. Back at my laptop, I showed Serena the papers. They actually paid. I never thought they would. What about the restraining order? Still in place. Though Dad's therapist reached out, asking if I'd consider family counseling. Will you? I looked around my apartment, at the art I'd bought because I wanted it, the fresh flowers I could now afford, the savings account that was finally growing. Not yet, maybe not ever. I'm learning that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. My phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. Board meeting tomorrow? Your proposal for a financial literacy program targeting family fraud? They love it. You're presenting at 9. Look at you, Serena grinned, turning pain into purpose. Speaking of purpose, I opened my laptop's camera roll. Remember that dream board I made 5 years ago? The one I had to abandon because of all the family emergencies? The old photo showed a collage, travel plans, career goals, a down payment fund for my own home, all sacrificed for Zach's luxuries. Time to make a new one? Already did. I held up my new board. Similar dreams, but with one key difference. Every goal was for me. My email pinged, a message from a woman named Rebecca. Your story saved my life. I was sending money to my parents while my sister lived in luxury. After seeing your CNN interview, I checked my credit, found 3 unauthorized loans. Thank you for showing me I wasn't alone. These messages never stop coming, I told Serena. Every day, someone new discovers their family's financial abuse. Because you spoke up. You showed them the way out. My banking app notification flashed. Automatic savings transfer complete. No guilt, no emergency calls, no manipulation. Just my money, building my future. Remember what Mom used to say? I asked Serena. Family is forever? Hard to forget. She screamed it in court. Well, she was right. Family is forever. But we get to choose which forever we want. I opened my calendar, filled with plans that were all mine. Therapy sessions, investment meetings, weekend trips to Paris. No more putting my life on hold for others' greed. The funny thing is, I continued, I'm actually grateful now. Not for the fraud or theft, but for the wake-up call. I needed to learn that love shouldn't cost your future. Serena wiped her eyes. Damn, write that down for your book. Another email arrived, from Dad. I understand if you never forgive us, but I want you to know I'm proud of you, not despite what you did, but because of it. You showed more strength than I ever did. I marked it read, but didn't reply. Some bridges need time before rebuilding, if they're rebuilt at all. Hey, Serena, I said, watching London's sunset through my window. Remember when I thought I owed them because I was surviving? Well, they drained your survival dry? Yeah, I finally figured it out. I survived because I stopped owing anyone, except myself. My phone lit up with another message from a stranger sharing their story of family financial abuse. Another person finding their voice, their strength, their way out. I opened my laptop to reply, thinking how strange it was that my family's betrayal had led to this, a community of survivors, a purpose born from pain, and a freedom that felt like finally coming home to myself. They wanted an ATM daughter. They got a warrior instead, and that was a trade I'd make any day.
The breeze carried the scent of fresh-cut grass and charcoal as I arranged the last of the appetizer plates on our patio table. Perfect afternoon. Perfect weather. Perfect life. I smoothed my sundress and smiled at the ultrasound photo tucked safely in my purse. 8 weeks along. Still our little secret. Ria, the ice is melting faster than I can fill the coolers. My husband Luke appeared at the sliding door, that boyish grin still making my heart skip after 6 years of marriage. Coming, I called back, stealing one more moment to myself. This backyard, our backyard, with its maple trees and the hammock Luke hung last summer, had become my sanctuary. Today it would become something more, the place where we told our closest friends we were finally pregnant. After 3 years of trying, 2 miscarriages, and 1 round of IVF that drained our savings, this baby was our miracle. I pressed my hand against my still flat stomach, allowing myself to feel the fragile hope I'd been too scared to fully embrace. The doorbell chimed. Luke's footsteps crossed the living room, followed by excited voices. Malik's booming laugh, Michelle's melodic greeting. Our chosen family arriving for what they thought was just a summer barbecue. I gathered myself and headed inside, immediately swept into Malik's bear hug. "There she is, the hostess with the mostest," he said, passing me a bottle of my favourite rosé. "Non-alcoholic," he added with a wink. "Michelle said you weren't drinking last time we had dinner." I shot Michelle a look of mock betrayal. "Detective skills on point as always," Michelle shrugged, her curls bouncing. "I notice things. Sue me." My phone buzzed, a text from my sister. "Running late, traffic nightmare, save me food." I typed back, "Hurry, Savannah, big news today." The doorbell rang again. Luke answered while I arranged Michelle's homemade cookies on a platter. "Surprise!" a familiar voice sang out. I froze, cookie midair. Carla. My best friend since college stood in my entryway, radiant in a floral maxi dress, her husband Jason awkwardly trailing behind. She wasn't supposed to be here. She was supposed to be in Chicago until next month. "Carla," I managed, setting down the cookie before I crushed it. "What are you—" "I couldn't miss summer barbecue season." She rushed toward me, enveloping me in a cloud of her signature perfume. "We wrapped the project early and I thought, why not surprise everyone?" I hugged her back automatically, my mind racing. The announcement. Our moment. Now complicated by Carla's unexpected presence. Luke caught my eye over Carla's shoulder, his expression unreadable. We'd planned this day so carefully. Intimate, just our closest local friends. Not Carla. Not yet. We'd planned to drive to Chicago next month to tell her in person. "You should have told us," I said, pulling back. "We would have picked you up from the airport." "And ruined the surprise?" She laughed, that infectious sound that always made everyone join in. "Besides, Jason handled it. Right, babe?" Jason nodded, looking as uncomfortable as I felt. Something flickered in his eyes, something that made my stomach tighten. The afternoon progressed with the easy rhythm of longtime friends. Drinks poured, burgers grilled, conversations overlapped. I watched Luke and Carla fall into their familiar banter, a friendship forged through me but solidified through years of group vacations and holiday gatherings. When Savannah finally arrived, she pulled me into the kitchen under the pretense of helping with dessert. "You okay?" she whispered. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Carla showed up, unannounced. "So? She's your best friend?" "We were going to announce the pregnancy today. Now it feels like she's stealing your thunder without even knowing it." Savannah squeezed my hand. "She just has spectacularly bad timing. Always has." I nodded, trying to shake off my irrational unease. "You're right. Let's get the cake." Back outside, Luke caught my eye and raised his eyebrows in question. I nodded slightly. It was time. He clinked his glass and conversations quieted. My heart pounded as he slipped his arm around my waist. "Thanks for coming, everyone. Rhea and I have some news we've been dying to share." I took a breath, ready for my line, when Carla suddenly stood up. "Actually," she interrupted, "Jason and I have an announcement too." The air seemed to still. Luke's arm tensed around me. "We're pregnant," Carla beamed, pulling something from her purse. 8 weeks along." She held up an ultrasound image that looked eerily familiar. The same angle, the same date stamp, the same tiny blob that I'd been staring at for weeks. My ultrasound. The world tilted sideways. Voices congratulated her from what seemed like miles away. Luke's arm dropped from my waist. "Isn't it amazing?" Carla gushed, passing the image around. "Rhea, you're going to be an auntie." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't tear my eyes from the ultrasound, my ultrasound, now in Malik's hands as he squinted at it. "That's wonderful," Luke said, his voice strained. "We're so happy for you both." Later, after everyone had gone home except Carla and Jason, who'd invited themselves to stay in our guest room, I found myself alone in the kitchen. A gift bag sat on the counter. "For the mom-to-be," the tag read in Carla's looping handwriting. Inside was a onesie, a bottle of prenatal vitamins, and a card. As I opened it, a small note fluttered to the floor. Luke, can't wait to tell them our secret. 8 more months until our lives change forever. All my love, C. I stared at the note until the words blurred. My fingers trembled, crumpling the paper's edge. All my love, C. All my love. C for Carla, my best friend since sophomore year. My maid of honor, the woman sleeping in my guest room right now. The kitchen felt too small suddenly, the walls pressing in. I slid to the floor, my back against the cool refrigerator door, and tried to breathe through the tightness in my chest. It had to be a mistake, a horrible coincidence. Maybe she'd bought a generic card and forgotten to remove some pre-printed note. Maybe... Ria! I jumped at Luke's voice, shoving the note into my pocket. He stood in the doorway, his face haggard in the dim light. Everyone's gone, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. Carla and Jason are settled in the guest room. My ultrasound, I whispered. She had my ultrasound. Luke ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit I used to find endearing. It just looked similar. All ultrasounds do at that stage. No. I stood up, steadier than I felt. It was mine. The same date stamp, the same position, even that little smudge in the corner from when the printer at Dr. Winter's office was running low on toner. You're being paranoid. His voice had an edge I rarely heard. It's been a long day, let's just go to bed. I studied his face, the face I'd woken up to for 6 years, the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth, the way his eyes darted away. You knew she was coming, I said slowly. You weren't surprised at all when she showed up. Don't be ridiculous. He turned away, opening the fridge and grabbing a beer. I'm going to watch some TV. Come up when you're ready. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close before pulling out my phone and calling the one person who would understand. Savannah, I need you to come over. Now. Holy shit. Savannah sat across from me at our kitchen table, the note between us like a live grenade. Are you absolutely sure? The ultrasound was mine. I pushed my cold tea away. And this note, it's her handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere. But that would mean, Savannah trailed off, her face paling, that my husband and my best friend are having an affair. The words felt foreign in my mouth, bitter and wrong. And they're using my pregnancy to cover it up. Savannah reached for my hand. What are you going to do? I don't know. I stared at our joined hands. Part of me wants to march upstairs and confront them both. Another part is afraid of what I'll find out. You need evidence, Savannah said firmly. Real evidence, not just suspicions. If they're really having an affair. They are? The certainty in my voice surprised even me. Then you need to be smart about this. Don't tip them off until you know exactly what's going on. I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. You're right. I need to understand what I'm dealing with before I make a move. Savannah squeezed my hand. You're not alone in this. I'm here, and we should tell Malik. He'll help too. Not yet. I shook my head. Just you for now. I can't have everyone looking at me with pity while I figure this out. After Savannah left, I crept upstairs, pausing outside the guest room. Silence. I continued to our bedroom where Luke lay sleeping, his back to my side of the bed. I stood watching him breathe, this stranger I'd married, and felt something harden inside me. Whatever was happening, I would face it. But on my terms. Morning brought the artificial cheerfulness of people with secrets. Carla bustled around my kitchen making pancakes, chattering about her pregnancy symptoms. The nausea is the worst. Is it hitting you yet, Ria? Oh! She clapped her hand over her mouth in mock horror. I totally stole your thunder yesterday, didn't I? You were going to announce something too? Luke froze by the coffee maker, his shoulders tensing. I forced a smile. Just a promotion at work. Nothing as exciting as a baby. The relief on both their faces made my stomach turn. We should celebrate anyway. Carla flipped a pancake with unnecessary flourish. Let's do dinner tonight, just the 4 of us. Actually, I said, I promised Malik I'd help with some event planning for his sister's charity thing. Rain check. Of course. Carla pouted. Maybe Luke can join us, though. Jason's been dying to try that new steakhouse downtown. Luke looked at me, a question in his eyes. You should go, I said lightly. I'll be home late anyway. Shh. Malik's apartment was my sanctuary that afternoon. I hadn't told him everything, just enough that he knew I needed space from Carla and Luke. Something's off with them, he said, setting a mug of coffee in front of me. I noticed it yesterday. The way they kept looking at each other when they thought no one was watching. My throat tightened. You saw it too. I didn't want to say anything, but he hesitated. There's something else. Michelle mentioned seeing them together at Cliffside last month. Cliffside? The fertility clinic? My heart pounded. That's where Luke and I did our IVF. Why would they? My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. I know what they did. Check your email. Be careful who you trust. Ria? What is it? Malik leaned forward, concerned. I stared at my phone, a chill running down my spine. I think someone's about to show me exactly what I'm dealing with. My fingers hovered over my phone, heart hammering against my ribs. Malik's apartment suddenly felt too warm, too small. I need to check my email, I whispered, more to myself than to him. Malik nodded, sliding his laptop across the coffee table. Use this. The message loaded instantly. No subject line, no greeting, just a short paragraph and an attachment. I work at Cliffside Fertility. What I witnessed between your husband and Carla Lawson violates every ethical standard. The attached security footage is from 6 weeks ago. I'm sorry. You don't have to watch this now, Malik said gently, or at all. I do. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. I need to know. The video was grainy but clear enough. A hallway at Cliffside, date stamp in the corner. Luke and Carla emerged from a door marked Consultation Room 3. Nothing incriminating yet, just two people walking down a hallway. Then Luke pulled Carla into an alcove, out of view of the main corridor, their bodies pressed together. His hand cupped her face in a gesture so achingly familiar, it made me nauseous. They kissed, not a friendly peck, but the deep, hungry kiss of lovers. When they separated, Carla said something that made Luke laugh. He reached into his pocket and handed her something small. She looked at it, nodded, and tucked it into her purse. Then they walked out of frame, his hand resting possessively on the small of her back. I closed the laptop, my hands surprisingly steady. Ria? Malik's voice was careful, concerned. 6 weeks ago. I stared at the closed laptop. That's when we found out the IVF worked. That's when I got my first ultrasound. Malik sat beside me, his presence solid and reassuring. What do you need right now? What did I need? The questions seemed impossibly complex and ridiculously simple at once. I need to understand what's happening. I stood up, suddenly restless. That clinic has all my medical information, my embryos. What were they doing there together? What did he give her? You think it might have been your ultrasound? Maybe. Or something worse. A horrible thought struck me. What if they're using my embryos somehow? What if her pregnancy is actually... I couldn't finish the sentence. The possibility was too grotesque, too violating to put into words. Let's not jump to conclusions, Malik said, though his expression betrayed his own concern. There might be an explanation. Like what? They happened to be at my fertility clinic for completely innocent reasons? Bitterness crept into my voice. While having an affair? I'm just saying we need more information before you confront them. I nodded, gathering my thoughts. I need to go to Cliffside, talk to someone there. Today? Now. The waiting room at Cliffside Fertility Centre smelled of antiseptic and artificial lavender. I'd spent countless hours here over the past year. Hopeful, then devastated, then cautiously optimistic again. Now I sat rigid in the same chair where Luke had held my hand and promised we'd be parents soon. Mrs. Webber? A receptionist I didn't recognise called my name. Dr. Winters can see you now. Dr. Winters looked surprised when I entered her office alone. Ria, I wasn't expecting you until next week's checkup. Is everything all right with the pregnancy? I sat down, choosing my words carefully. I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Her expression shifted to professional concern. Of course. Has my husband been here without me? With another woman? Dr. Winters blinked, clearly caught off guard. I'm not sure what you're asking. I think you do. I pulled out my phone and placed it on her desk, the frozen image of Luke and Carla in the hallway visible on the screen. This is from your security cameras, 6 weeks ago. She stared at the image, then at me, her professional demeanor cracking slightly. Ria, patient confidentiality prevents me from... Don't. My voice shook with barely controlled anger. My husband and my best friend were here together behind my back. I need to know why. Dr. Winters removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. I can only discuss your medical information with you. Is she using my embryos? The question burst out raw and desperate. Is that even possible? Absolutely not. Her response was immediate, firm. That would be illegal and completely unethical. We have strict protocols. Then why were they here? She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. I can tell you that no one has accessed your embryos except for the procedure that resulted in your current pregnancy. Relief washed over me, followed quickly by renewed confusion. Then what? Mrs. Weber, she interrupted gently. I suggest you speak with your husband. That's all I can say. I left Cliffside with more questions than answers, my mind racing. If they weren't tampering with my embryos, what were they doing there? And what had Luke given Carla in that video? Outside, I leaned against a concrete pillar, trying to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed with a text from Luke. Where are you? Carla and Jason want to take us to dinner. Another text followed immediately. Also, have you seen my blue thumb drive? Can't find it anywhere. A thumb drive, small enough to fit in a pocket, easy to hand to someone in a hallway. My phone buzzed again, this time from the unknown number. Check the financial records. Joint accounts. Look for transfers to Cliffside 6 months ago that don't match your treatment schedule. I stared at the message, a cold clarity settling over me. Whatever was happening went deeper than an affair. Much deeper. I texted Luke back. Not feeling well. Staying at Savannah's tonight. Check the desk drawer for your drive. Then I called the one person who could help me access our financial records without tipping off Luke. Michelle, it's Ria. I need your help with something no one else can know about. Michelle's kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and cinnamon, a stark contrast to the ugliness we were about to uncover. As Malik's sister and an accountant, she had the skills I needed right now. I brought everything I could find, I said, placing a folder on her counter. Bank statements, investment accounts, tax returns from the last 2 years. Michelle nodded. All business. What exactly are we looking for? Payments to Cliffside Fertility that I don't know about, specifically around 6 months ago. She didn't ask why, and I was grateful. Malik must have filled her in on the basics. Let me see. She opened her laptop and began sorting through the documents with practiced efficiency. Your IVF treatments were expensive. Almost $50,000 altogether. Insurance covered some. But yes. I wrapped my hands around a mug of coffee I couldn't bring myself to drink. We had to take out a second mortgage. Michelle frowned, comparing 2 statements. There's something odd here. A wire transfer to Cliffside for $22,000 on February 12th. But your treatment schedule shows your last payment was in January. My stomach clenched. That's not mine. It came from your joint savings account. She turned the laptop so I could see. Luke authorized it. What could cost that much? We already paid for the embryo creation and storage. Michelle hesitated. There are other services fertility clinics offer. Egg donation, surrogacy arrangements. The implication hung in the air between us. Keep looking, I said, my voice tight. What else? She continued scrolling through statements. There's a pattern of cash withdrawals from your joint checking account. $2,000 every month for the past year. Always on the 15th. I never noticed. Shame coloured my admission. Luke handles most of our finances. Don't blame yourself. Michelle's voice was gentle but firm. Financial infidelity is part of how people hide affairs. The word affair landed like a physical blow. Until now, I'd been operating in a strange limbo, knowing but not fully accepting the betrayal. There's more, Michelle said, frowning at the screen. A safety deposit box rental at First National downtown. Opened 8 months ago. Both your names are on it, but the notification address is a P.O. box I don't recognize. I stared at her, the pieces clicking into horrible place. He's been planning this, whatever this is, for months. Michelle reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What do you want to do now? I need to see what's in that safety deposit box. The bank manager looked between Luke's driver's license in my hand and my face, his expression skeptical. This isn't your ID, Mom. It's my husband's. I forced a laugh I didn't feel. He's out of town and asked me to grab some documents we need for a home refinance. I'm on the account too, you can check. He tapped at his computer. I see that, Mrs. Webber, but our policy requires either both parties present or… Please. I leaned forward, dropping my voice. It's our anniversary next week. I'm surprising him with a trip, and the passport renewal forms are in the box. I forgot to ask him before he left. The manager's expression softened. Well, since you're on the account… Just this once. Minutes later, I sat alone in a small viewing room with the metal box before me. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid. Inside were documents in neat folders. Birth certificates, mine and Luke's, marriage license, house deed. Normal things you'd expect. Then I found it. A folder labelled Cliffside Agreement. I opened it and began to read, my vision blurring as the full scope of their betrayal came into focus. It wasn't just an affair. It was so much worse. Luke had authorised the use of our embryos, our children, for third-party implantation. There was a legal agreement signed by both Luke and Carla, with Jason's signature conspicuously absent. The document outlined financial arrangements, custody provisions, and confidentiality clauses. They had stolen my embryos. My baby. No, I realised with sickening clarity. Not stolen. The agreement specified embryo number 3, one of the 5 we had created. Carla was pregnant with my biological child, with Luke's consent. A child that would be raised as hers and Jason's, with Luke secretly involved. The room spun around me. I shoved the documents back into the box, keeping only the agreement, which I photographed with shaking hands before returning it. Breathe, Rhea. Malik's voice seemed to come from far away. Just breathe. We sat in his car outside the bank, the air conditioning blasting against my clammy skin. They took my embryo, I whispered. My baby. They're going to raise my child and pretend it's theirs. Does Jason know? Malik asked. I don't think so. His signature isn't on anything. I pressed my hands against my eyes. What kind of person does this to their best friend? To their own husband? Malik's phone chimed with a text. He glanced at it, then at me, his expression unreadable. What? I asked. It's Michelle. She found something else. He hesitated. The ultrasound image Carla showed everyone. Michelle zoomed in on the date stamp. It matches yours exactly. Not just the date, but the time. Down to the minute. That's impossible unless it's literally your ultrasound image. Malik's voice was gentle. Rhea, I don't think Carla is actually pregnant. I stared at him, the implications crashing over me in waves. Then what is this? What are they doing? My phone lit up with a notification, an email from the unknown sender. Found something you need to see. Cliffside parking garage, 20 minutes. I showed Malik the message. It could be a trap, he warned, or it could be answers. I straightened in my seat, a cold determination replacing my shock. And right now, I need those more than I need safety. The cliffside parking garage was nearly empty at this hour, fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows across concrete pillars. Malik insisted on coming with me, waiting in his car at the entrance while I ventured deeper alone. Level 3, Section D, as instructed in the follow-up text. My footsteps echoed in the cavernous space, each sound amplified by my frayed nerves. I clutched my phone, thumb hovering over the emergency call button. "Hello?" I called out, my voice bouncing off concrete walls. A figure stepped out from behind a pillar. A woman in scrubs, maybe mid-40s, her face tight with anxiety. "Mrs. Webber?" She glanced around nervously. "I'm Ruby. I'm a nurse at Cliffside." "You're the one who's been texting me?" She nodded, pulling a manila envelope from her bag. I could lose my job for this. Worse, actually. But what they're doing, I couldn't stay silent. I took the envelope, my fingers trembling slightly. "What is this?" "Evidence." Ruby's voice dropped to a whisper. "Your husband and that woman, they've been coming to the clinic for months. At first, I thought they were just having an affair, using the clinic as cover. But it's more complicated." I opened the envelope and pulled out several documents, patient intake forms, lab results, and a photograph of Luke and Carla sitting in what looked like a consultation room. "Carla isn't pregnant," Ruby confirmed. "She never was. The ultrasound she showed, it was yours. Dr. Mercer gave it to her." "Dr. Mercer?" I frowned. "I've never seen him. My doctor is Dr. Winters. He handles special cases." Ruby's expression darkened. "Look at the lab results." I scanned the papers, medical terminology swimming before my eyes. "I don't understand." "Carla can't have children. These tests confirm it. Complete ovarian failure. But she and your husband have been planning something." Ruby pointed to a notation on one form. "They requested access to your embryos months ago. Dr. Winters refused. It's unethical without your consent, but Dr. Mercer was willing to help them, for a price." My stomach lurched. "The $22,000 payment?" Ruby nodded. "They were planning to use a surrogate, a woman from outside the country. The paperwork would be falsified to show Carla as the biological mother." "But why?" My voice cracked. "Why go through all this deception?" "The last time they came in, I overheard them arguing. Carla was saying something about an inheritance that required her to have a biological child by the end of the year. Millions of dollars were at stake. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Carla's wealthy grandmother had died last year. There had been talk of a complex will, conditions that had to be met. So, they were going to use my embryo, find a surrogate, and pretend the baby was theirs? For money? The enormity of the betrayal made me dizzy, but then I got pregnant, which complicated their plan. Ruby checked her watch nervously. "They've been scrambling. That's why Carla showed up at your house unexpectedly. She's desperate to establish her pregnancy publicly before they find another solution." "Another solution?" Cold dread washed over me. Ruby hesitated. "I don't know exactly. But yesterday, Dr. Mercer requested access to your current medical file. He has no reason to be involved in your care." A terrible thought struck me. Could they try to take my baby? The one I'm carrying now? "I don't think..." Ruby froze, her eyes widening as she looked past me. "Someone's coming, I have to go." She hurried away, disappearing behind a concrete pillar as headlights swept across the garage wall. I ducked behind a nearby car, clutching the envelope to my chest. A familiar silver Audi pulled into a space near the elevator. Luke's car. My husband stepped out, checking his phone before heading toward the hospital entrance. What was he doing here? At this hour? I waited until he was gone before racing back to Malik's car, my heart pounding. "You need to go to the police." Malik's voice was firm as we sat in his living room, the documents from Ruby spread across his coffee table. "And tell them what? That my husband and best friend are planning to steal my embryos? That they might try to take my baby?" I pressed my hands against my face. "It sounds insane." "It is insane. But these documents prove something illegal is happening. They'll say it's a private matter, a divorce issue." I'd never felt so helpless. And going public means everyone knowing, my family, our friends, my colleagues. My baby would be born into this nightmare. Malik leaned forward, his expression serious. "Ria, I need to tell you something. Michelle didn't just find financial records. She found emails." My stomach dropped. "What emails?" Between Luke and Carla. They go back years, Ria. This isn't new. The rooms seem to tilt. Years? We've only been married 6 years. Malik couldn't meet my eyes. The emails started before your wedding. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. Not just my husband. Not just my best friend. But a deception that predated my marriage, my pregnancy, everything I thought was real. Show me, I whispered. He handed me his tablet. The emails were there, hundreds of them. Love notes, plans, discussions about me, about how to keep me in the dark. In one, dated just after our wedding, Luke wrote, "She has no idea, and she never will. We just need to be patient." Another from last year. "Once the inheritance comes through, we'll have everything we need. R is just a means to an end." A means to an end. That's all I was to them. A stepping stone to the life they really wanted. My phone buzzed with a text from Luke. "Where are you? Carla's worried. Come home." I looked up at Malik, a cold clarity washing over me. I'm done being their victim. It's time they learned what it feels like to be betrayed. I ripped another photo in half, watching Carla's smiling face tear down the middle. The pile of destroyed memories on my sister's coffee table grew larger, a decade of friendship reduced to confetti. "Feel better?" Savannah asked, handing me a mug of herbal tea. No. I dropped the torn photo and reached for another, but it beat screaming into a pillow. 3 days had passed since the parking garage meeting. 3 days of ignoring Luke's increasingly frantic texts. 3 days of planning. "Have you thought about what you'll say to them?" Savannah perched on the arm of the sofa. Every word. I set down the photos and pulled out my phone, scrolling to the document where I'd outlined my confrontation. "I've rehearsed it 100 times. And you're sure about doing this publicly? At the party?" I nodded. Michelle and Malik's annual summer gathering was tomorrow night, an event Luke and Carla wouldn't miss. The perfect stage for what I had planned. They wanted an audience for their lies. They'll have one for the truth. Savannah studied me, concern etched across her face. "I'm worried about you, Ria. This revenge plan. It's not like you." The old me died when I read those emails. I met her gaze steadily. The woman who trusted blindly, who made excuses for people who didn't deserve them, she's gone. "I just don't want you to do something you'll regret." "Regret?" I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "I regret every second I spent loving people who saw me as nothing but a means to an end." My phone buzzed with a text from Ruby. "Dr. Mercer accessed your medical records again. Be careful." A chill ran through me. "They're getting desperate." Savannah read the message over my shoulder. "Maybe we should postpone the confrontation. If they're planning something." "No." I stood up, suddenly restless. "I need this to end. I need everyone to know what they did. At least talk to someone first. A professional." I started to argue, then stopped. Maybe she was right. The rage burning inside me was clouding my judgment, pushing me toward a public spectacle that might feel satisfying in the moment but could have consequences I wasn't considering. Fine. 1 session. Dr. Ruby Wolf's office was nothing like I expected. Warm colours, comfortable furniture, no clinical sterility. The woman herself matched the space. Gentle eyes behind stylish glasses, an air of calm attentiveness. "So you're the mysterious Ruby," I said as I sat down. "The nurse from the parking garage." She smiled slightly. "I'm a psychologist, not a nurse. I consult at Cliffside occasionally, which is how I became aware of your situation. I hope you'll forgive the deception. I needed to establish trust before revealing my full identity." I tensed. "How do I know you're not working with them?" "A fair question." She handed me a business card and gestured to her credentials on the wall. "You're welcome to verify my identity. But I assure you, my only interest is helping you navigate this trauma safely." I studied her, searching for signs of deception and finding none. "Why did you get involved? Why risk your career? Because what they're doing is wrong." Her voice carried quiet conviction. "And because I've seen the aftermath of betrayal like this before. Without proper support, it can destroy more than just the relationships involved. For the next hour, I poured out everything. The affair, the embryo theft scheme, the inheritance, my plans for public exposure. Ruby listened without judgment, asking occasional questions that cut to the heart of my emotions. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Your anger is justified," she finally said. "The betrayal you've experienced is profound. But I'm concerned about your focus on public humiliation as the solution." "They deserve it," I insisted. "Perhaps. But is that what you need? Will exposing them this way bring you peace, or just momentary satisfaction followed by more pain?" Her words hit a nerve I hadn't acknowledged. What's the alternative? Let them get away with it? There are ways to hold people accountable without sacrificing your own dignity in the process. Ruby leaned forward, and ways to protect yourself and your child that don't involve public spectacle. Like what? Legal action, private confrontation with witnesses present, documentation of everything before making any public statements. She held my gaze. The question isn't whether they deserve exposure, it's whether turning your pain into a performance serves your healing. I left Ruby's office with my certainty shaken. The rage still burned, but her words had created space for something else. A small voice asking if there might be a better way. That voice fell silent when I checked my phone and found a voicemail from an unknown number. "Mrs. Webber, this is Dr. Mercer from Cliffside. I'm calling about some concerning test results from your last visit. Please come in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It's urgent we discuss your pregnancy." Cold fear replaced my anger. There were no concerning test results. My last checkup had been perfect. This was their next move, trying to get me alone at the clinic. I called Ruby immediately. "They're making their move," I said when she answered. "Dr. Mercer left a message about fake test results, trying to lure me to the clinic." "Don't go," Ruby said firmly. "Whatever you do, don't go alone." "I won't?" A plan crystallized in my mind. But this changes things. They're escalating, which means I need to as well. "Ria, the party is tonight. Everything is ready." My resolve hardened. I'm done waiting for them to take more from me. It ends tonight. I hung up and texted Malik. "It's happening. Be ready with the projector." Michelle and Malik's backyard glowed with string lights, the summer evening perfect for their annual gathering. I stood at the edge of the patio, watching guests mingle while my heart hammered against my ribs. The weight of the USB drive in my pocket felt like a grenade with the pin halfway pulled. "They just arrived," Savannah murmured, appearing at my side with a glass of sparkling water. "Luke's looking for you." I took a slow sip, ice clinking against glass. Let him look. Across the yard, Luke moved through the crowd, his practiced smile not quite reaching his eyes. Carla trailed behind him, one hand resting on her still flat stomach, in the theatrical way she'd adopted since announcing her fake pregnancy. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" Savannah squeezed my arm. "It's not too late to handle it privately." For a moment, doubt crept in. Ruby's warnings echoed in my mind. Was I making a mistake? Would this public exposure heal anything, or just create more pain? Then I saw Luke spot me, saw the relief wash over his face as he nudged Carla and pointed in my direction, saw them exchange a look of such calculated concern that it made my skin crawl. "I'm sure," I said, straightening my shoulders. "Some things deserve to be dragged into the light." Luke reached me first, pulling me into an embrace that once would have felt like coming home. Now his touch made my skin crawl. "Where have you been?" he whispered, his voice a perfect blend of worry and relief. "I've been texting you for days." I stepped back, maintaining a smile for anyone watching. I needed some space to think. "You could have told me that." His eyes darted to my stomach. "I was worried about the baby." "Were you?" I kept my voice light. "That's touching." Carla joined us, her face a mask of friendly concern. "Ria, we've been so worried. Are you feeling better?" The audacity of her performance, standing there pretending to care while plotting to steal my child, made something snap inside me. All doubts vanished. Much better, I said. In fact, I have an announcement to make tonight. Alarm flashed in Luke's eyes. An announcement? What kind of announcement? You'll see. I nodded toward Malik, who was setting up a projector against the back wall of the house. It's almost time. Luke grabbed my wrist, his fingers digging in slightly. Rhea, whatever you're thinking, let go of me. My voice was steel. Unless you want to make a scene right now, he released me, glancing nervously at the other guests. Can we talk privately, please? We're past that point. I stepped away, moving toward the makeshift stage where Malik had finished setting up. Excuse me, I need to get ready. Michelle clinked a glass, calling for everyone's attention. The crowd of 30 or so friends quieted, turning toward her. Thanks for coming, everyone, she said brightly. Before dinner, Rhea has something she'd like to share with us all. My moment had arrived. I walked to the front, the USB drive now in my hand. Malik gave me a supportive nod as I handed it to him. Thank you all for coming tonight, I began, my voice steadier than I expected. Many of you know that Luke and I have been trying to start a family for years. Murmurs of sympathy and encouragement rippled through the crowd. I caught sight of Luke and Carla at the back, their faces frozen in identical masks of dread. What you don't know is that we succeeded. I'm pregnant. I placed a hand on my stomach, reclaiming this moment that had been stolen from me. 8 weeks along. Confusion spread through the gathering. Several people glanced between me and Carla, who had also claimed to be 8 weeks pregnant. I'm sharing this now because the journey to this pregnancy has been complicated by betrayal. I nodded to Malik, who started the projection. And I believe the truth deserves to be heard. The first image appeared on the wall, the security footage of Luke and Carla kissing at the fertility clinic. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My husband and my best friend have been having an affair for years, I continued, my voice clear despite the tremor in my hands. But that's not the worst of their betrayal. The next slide showed the embryo transfer agreement with Luke and Carla's signatures. They conspired to steal my embryos, my children, for their own purposes. I looked directly at Carla. For money, for an inheritance that required a biological child by the end of the year. Carla stepped forward, her face contorted with rage and panic. This is insane! You're twisting everything! Am I? The next slide showed her medical records, proof of her infertility. You're not pregnant, Carla. You never were. You stole my ultrasound image to fake a pregnancy while you figured out how to get your hands on my baby. The crowd had gone completely silent, all eyes moving between us like spectators at a tennis match. Luke pushed through the crowd toward me. Rhea, stop this. You're making a fool of yourself. No, Luke, I'm finally seeing clearly. I clicked to the final slide, their emails displayed in damning detail. You wrote that I was just a means to an end. Well, the end has come, but not the one you planned. I turned back to the stunned audience. I wanted you all to know the truth, not just for me, but for all of us who believed in these people, who trusted them. Carla lunged forward suddenly, her composure completely shattered. You stupid bitch! Do you have any idea what you've done? In her rage, she knocked over a glass, sending it shattering across the patio. The sound seemed to break the spell of shock that had fallen over the gathering. What I've done, I said, my voice steady as I faced her, is take back my life, my child, my truth. Luke grabbed Carla's arm, trying to pull her away, but she shook him off, her face twisted with fury. You think you've won? She spat. This isn't over. That baby is our ticket to millions, and I'm not letting you ruin everything we've worked for. The confession hung in the air, damning and final. Even Luke looked stunned by her outburst. I smiled, a genuine smile that felt like the first in months. Actually, Carla, it is over, and everyone here is my witness. The silence following Carla's outburst shattered when someone in the crowd started slow clapping. Others joined in, the sound building until it filled the backyard. Not applause of celebration, but of recognition. Acknowledgement of a truth laid bare. Luke grabbed Carla's arm, his face ashen. We need to go. Now. You're not going anywhere. Malik stepped forward, phone in hand. The police are on their way. The police? Luke's laugh was brittle. This is a private matter. Conspiracy to commit medical fraud isn't private, I said. Neither is attempting to access medical records without consent. Dr. Mercer has already been reported to the medical board. Carla wrenched free of Luke's grip, her mask of sophistication completely gone. You think anyone will believe you? It's your word against ours. Actually, Michelle said, stepping forward with her tablet, it's your words against you. Every email, every document, every transaction. I've been tracking them for weeks. The police will have quite a file to work with. Luke's eyes darted around, looking for an escape route. This is ridiculous. We never... Save it for your lawyer, Savannah cut in, her arms slipping protectively around my shoulders. And good luck finding one who'll touch this case. The wail of police sirens in the distance seemed to break something in Luke. His shoulders slumped, the fight draining from him. Carla, let's just go, he muttered. We can explain everything later. Go where? She hissed. It's over, Luke. She's ruined everything. I watched them, these strangers wearing the faces of people I'd loved, and felt a strange calm settle over me. You ruined it yourselves. I just refused to be your victim. 2 police officers arrived, directed to us by a grim-faced Michelle. The formality of statements and explanations created a surreal bubble around the confrontation. Guests drifted away from the spectacle, gathering in shocked clusters across the yard. As the police led Luke and Carla towards separate patrol cars, Luke looked back at me one last time. Rhea, please. We can work this out. I met his gaze steadily. We already have. The gathering dispersed quickly after the police left. Only our closest friends remained, helping Michelle and Malik clean up the abandoned party. I sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies blink in the gathering darkness. The adrenaline that had carried me through the confrontation was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Malik brought me a cup of tea, settling beside me on the swing. You okay? I don't know what I am, I admitted. Relieved, devastated, numb. All of the above sounds about right. We sat in comfortable silence, the gentle creaking of the swing punctuating the night sounds. What happens now? He finally asked. Legally? Their lawyers will try to make deals. There will be divorce proceedings, possibly criminal charges depending on what else the investigation uncovers. I sipped my tea. Personally, I have no idea. You could stay with us for a while. Michelle already made up the guest room. I smiled, genuinely touched. Thank you, but I think I need to go home tonight. Home? Are you sure? It's still my house, my life. I placed a hand on my stomach. Our home. I won't let them take anything else from me. The house was eerily quiet when I unlocked the door. I moved through the rooms, turning on lights, reclaiming the space that had been poisoned by betrayal. In the study, Luke's desk drawer stood partially open. He'd left in too much of a hurry to close it properly. Inside was a small velvet box I didn't recognize. Curious, I opened it. Not jewelry as I'd expected, but a small silver key. Attached was a tag with an address in Cliffside, a storage facility. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. There's more you don't know. Storage Unit 227. The key is in his desk. Ruby. It had to be. The storage facility was well lit despite the late hour. Unit 227 was at the end of a long row of identical metal doors. The key turned smoothly in the lock. Inside, neatly organized shelves held dozens of file boxes, each labeled with a woman's name and a date. With growing horror, I realized what I was looking at: Luke and Carla's previous victims. Women they'd manipulated, scammed, betrayed. Financial records, photographs, personal information, all meticulously documented. Some boxes contained legal documents showing property transfers, investment accounts, insurance policies. And there, on a shelf by itself, a box labelled Rhea in Carla's handwriting. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a detailed plan spanning years. From the day we met through a projected accident that would leave Luke in control of my assets and our child. Photos of me at various events, unaware I was being documented. A timeline of my fertility treatments. A copy of my will. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd selected me, targeted me, for a long con that was supposed to end with something far worse than heartbreak. My phone rang, Savannah worried about where I'd gone. As I explained, her shock mirrored my own. "Come to my place," she insisted. "You shouldn't be alone with this." "I'm not alone anymore," I said, a strange calm settling over me as I looked at the evidence of their elaborate scheme. "And neither are there other victims." I closed the box, my decision made. These women deserved to know the truth just as I had, and I would make sure they learned it. The weight of betrayal would always be part of my story, but it wouldn't be the end of it. Not for me, not for my child, and not for the others who had been manipulated by the people I once trusted most. I placed a protective hand over my stomach, feeling stronger than I had in months. "We're going to be okay," I whispered to my baby, "and we're going to make sure they never hurt anyone else again."
The envelope felt heavy in my hands, heavier than paper had any right to be. My graduation cap was still perched awkwardly on my head as I stood in our living room, surrounded by deflating balloons and half-eaten cake. I'd waited 18 years for this moment, dreaming of the college acceptance letters I'd already received and the future they promised. My name is Noelle, and that was the day everything changed. "Go ahead, open it!" Mom's voice had that artificial cheer she used when hosting dinner parties. Dad stood beside her, arms crossed, jaw set in that familiar, stern expression. Inside was a card with a generic "Congratulations, graduate" message. No check, no mention of my college fund. My stomach dropped. "I don't understand," I said, looking between them. "Where's the—" "Honey, we need to talk," Mom cut in, gesturing toward the couch. "There's been a situation." I sat, still clutching the empty card. The vinyl cushions squeaked beneath me, a sound that would forever remind me of this moment. "Your college fund," Dad began, clearing his throat. "We had to use it. There was a family emergency." "Emergency?" My voice cracked. "What emergency?" They exchanged glances, the kind parents share when they're choosing their words carefully. "It's complicated," Mom said, "but we want you to know how proud we are. You're so resourceful, Noelle. We know you'll figure something out." "Community college is a perfectly respectable option," Dad added. "Lots of successful people start there." The front door burst open and my sister Charlie bounced in, her designer handbag swinging. "Oh my God, you guys won't believe what Jessica just told me about this amazing apartment downtown." Mom's face lit up. "Sweetie, perfect timing. Tell us everything." I sat there, invisible, as Charlie dominated the conversation with tales of hardwood floors and city views. My parents hung on every word, nodding enthusiastically. "It would be such an amazing investment in my future," Charlie gushed. "The networking opportunities alone." That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I crept downstairs for water and heard whispers from Dad's study. "The penthouse will be perfect for Charlie's image," Mom was saying. "Her business school applications will look so much stronger with that address." "It's steep," Dad replied, "but you're right. She needs to project success to be successful, and she's got such potential. Unlike—" Mom's voice dropped even lower, but I heard enough. I stood there, frozen, as 18 years of memories rearranged themselves like puzzle pieces, finally showing the true picture. Every family emergency that canceled my summer camps while Charlie went to Europe. Every budget cut that eliminated my extracurriculars while she got private tennis lessons. The next morning, I smiled through breakfast, nodded when they suggested local colleges, thanked them for the graduation party, but something had shifted inside me. As I researched student loans and job listings, I made myself a promise. I would never need them again. And someday, they'd regret choosing their golden child over me. "You okay?" Haley asked at orientation. We'd just met, but something about her felt trustworthy. "You look like you're plotting revenge or something." I laughed, but it wasn't really funny. Just thinking about the future. "Well, I'm claiming you as my study buddy," she declared. "Us community college warriors have to stick together." I nodded, grateful for the friendship, but my mind was already racing ahead. Community college would be my starting point, not my destination. I'd work harder than anyone, save every penny, build something they couldn't ignore or dismiss. That evening, I watched Charlie post photos of her apartment hunting adventure on Instagram. The captions were full of heart emojis and blessed hashtags. Mom commented, "So excited for your next chapter." I closed the app and opened my banking one instead. My savings account showed $342.19, everything I'd managed to squirrel away from summer jobs and birthday cards. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and it was a start. I picked up my phone and texted Haley. "Know anyone hiring? I need all the hours I can get." Her response came quickly. "Actually, yes. My cousin's cafe needs morning help. Early AF but decent tips." I typed back, "Perfect. I'm in." Then I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it, 5-Year Plan. The cursor blinked at me like a challenge. Game on, I thought. Let's see who's the better investment after all. "You look like death warmed over," Haley said, sliding a triple espresso across the library table. 6 months into our new routine, and she'd become my caffeine supplier and voice of reason. "Thanks," I mumbled, taking a desperate sip. The morning shift was brutal. Some guy ordered 8 different specialty drinks, then complained about every single one. "At least you're getting paid to deal with jerks?" Haley pulled out her textbook. "Unlike here, where we pay for the privilege." My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification from Charlie. "Living my best life. You da blessed, just city girl tucker penthouse views." The photo showed her lounging on a pristine white couch, Manhattan skyline glittering behind her. 3,000 likes already. "Don't look at that stuff," Haley warned. But I couldn't help myself. Mom had commented, "My gorgeous girl, so proud of your success." "Dad, that's my daughter, making waves in the big city." "I need another job," I announced, closing the app. "The cafe and the bookstore aren't cutting it." "Noelle, you're already working 60 hours a week plus full-time classes. When do you sleep?" "Sleep is for people who can afford it." I pulled up Indeed on my phone. "Look, there's a temp agency downtown hiring for data entry. Flexible hours, decent pay." "You're insane," Haley sighed, but she was already reaching for her phone. "Let me text my uncle. His company sometimes needs evening office help." The next week, I started at Morton & Associates. That's where I met Jarvis. "You're in the wrong chair," he said, making me jump. I'd been half asleep, entering endless spreadsheet data. "Sorry, I didn't. That one's got a broken wheel. Here." He rolled over a better chair. I learned the hard way, nearly face-planted during a client meeting. His smile was kind, and for the first time in months, I felt seen. "I'm Noelle," I said, switching chairs. "Thanks for the rescue." "Jarvis. And trust me, I know what it's like trying to stay awake through the night shift." We fell into an easy rhythm after that. He'd bring coffee, I'd share my emergency snack stash. Between data entries, we'd talk about everything and nothing. Meanwhile, my family's social media facade grew more elaborate. Mom posted weekly Family Success Sunday updates, carefully edited to paint her perfect picture. Proud mama moment, both my girls crushing it, Charlie closing deals in Manhattan while Noelle pursues her dreams locally. Blessed over a proud mom. Haley found me crying in the bathroom after that one. "They're full of shit," she said, handing me toilet paper to wipe my eyes. "I know," I blew my nose. "I just wish everyone else knew too." "Forget them. How's the secret spreadsheet looking?" I pulled out my phone, showing her my savings tracker. "Almost enough for the certification program. 3 more months, maybe?" "And the side project with Jarvis?" "We're meeting tomorrow to finish the business plan. He thinks—" My phone rang. Mom's face filled the screen. Aren't you going to answer? Haley asked. I declined the call. They only call when they want something. Sure enough, a text followed. Noelle, honey, Charlie's having a little cash flow issue with her apartment. Nothing serious, just wondering if you could help out? Family helps family. I showed Haley the message. See? That's rich, she snorted. Literally. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Charlie's Instagram story, a champagne toast in her gleaming kitchen, caption reading, "Thanks Mom and Dad for making dreams come true. Best parents ever." The timestamp was from yesterday. Cash flow issues, huh? Haley said, looking over my shoulder. Something snapped inside me. All these months of exhaustion, of swallowing my pride, of watching them flaunt their favoritism while asking me to bail them out. I opened my photos, scrolling to screenshots I'd been collecting. Bank statements, social media posts, text messages, a digital paper trail of lies and manipulation. Noelle? Haley's voice was concerned. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to stop playing nice. I stood up, straightening my shirt. Want to help me build a PowerPoint presentation? A PowerPoint? For what? I smiled, and it wasn't entirely nice. For when they least expect it. But first, I need to make a few calls. My phone buzzed again. Jarvis this time. Got those investment numbers you wanted. You're not going to believe this. Coming now, I texted back. Should I be worried? Haley called after me as I headed for the door. No, I said, but they should be. I slammed the stack of papers onto our dining room table, making the crystal centerpiece rattle. Explain this. Mom's face went pale as she recognized Charlie's apartment paperwork. Dad's jaw tightened, the same expression he wore when delivering bad quarterly reports. Where did you get those? He demanded. Does it matter? What matters is you lied. There was no family emergency. You took my college fund and bought Charlie a luxury apartment. Now, Noelle, Mom started, using her placating voice, you're not seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture? I laughed, but it came out harsh. Please enlighten me. Explain how stealing my future was part of some grand plan. Dad stood up, straightening his tie. We made an investment decision. Charlie showed more promise, more drive. Her connections in the city, her business school prospects. These things require a certain lifestyle. And what about my prospects? Oh, honey, Mom sighed. Let's be realistic. You've always been more practical, better suited to a simpler path. The words hit like slaps, each one carefully chosen to diminish, to dismiss. Practical, I repeated. You mean less valuable. That's not what your mother said, Dad snapped. We assessed the situation objectively. Charlie was the better bet. Better bet, my voice cracked. I'm your daughter, not a stock option. And as your parents, we made the best decision for this family's future. Dad's tone was final, the one that usually ended all arguments. Not this time. You want to talk about family decisions? I pulled out my phone, opening the folder of screenshots. Let's talk about Charlie's cash flow issues. The ones you keep asking me to help with? I showed them the champagne toast photo, the designer shopping sprees, the spa weekends. Those are just social media posts, Mom waved dismissively. You know how things look online aren't always. I have the credit card statements too. I swiped to the next screen. Funny how her emergency expenses match perfectly with her Gucci purchases. Dad's face darkened. You had no right to access those records. And you had no right to steal my future. Enough! Mom stood up, hands shaking. Noelle, you're being dramatic. You should be grateful for what you have. Do you know how many people would love to be in your position? My position? I stared at her in disbelief. Working 3 jobs while watching you throw money at Charlie? Your sister has a vision, Dad cut in. A plan. What's your plan, Noelle? Community college and coffee shops? The contempt in his voice made something break inside me. All these years of trying to prove myself, of hoping they'd see me differently. You want to know my plan? I gathered the papers, tucking them back into my bag. Watch and learn. Don't take that tone with us, Mom warned. We're still your parents. No, I said quietly. You're Charlie's parents. I'm just the backup ATM you call when she overspends. You're being ridiculous, Dad scoffed. Everything we've done has been for this family's benefit. Keep telling yourself that. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and don't bother calling about Charlie's next emergency. I'm done funding the golden child's lifestyle. Noelle, Mom called after me. Don't walk away from this family. I paused in the doorway. What family? All I see is a business arrangement gone wrong. The door closed behind me with a satisfying thud. My hands were shaking as I got into my car, but my mind was clear. My phone lit up with texts. Haley. How'd it go? Need backup? Jarvis. Meeting confirmed for tomorrow. Got those projections ready. Mom. We need to talk about your attitude, young lady. Charlie. OMG, why are you being such a drama queen? I ignored them all and drove to the coffee shop where I'd started my first job. Kelly, my old manager, was still there. The usual? She asked, already reaching for a cup. Actually, I said, I need advice about starting a business. She raised an eyebrow. What kind of business? The kind that makes people regret underestimating you. Kelly smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. Pull up a chair, kid. I've got some stories you need to hear. As she talked, I opened my notebook to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote 3 words. No more nice. The rage that had been simmering for months finally had a purpose, a direction, and I was just getting started. You're insane, Jarvis said, staring at the business proposal I'd laid out. This could actually work. We were sitting in his tiny apartment, takeout containers scattered around us. 3 months had passed since my confrontation with my parents, and I'd been busy. The market research is solid, I pointed out. Plus, Kelly's willing to be our first client. A coffee shop management app. He shook his head, grinning. Built by someone who actually worked in coffee shops. Exactly. Who better to design it than people who've lived the chaos? My phone buzzed. Another family group text I'd been ignoring. Mom. Charlie's starting her MBA. Celebration dinner Sunday. Dad. So proud of our girl taking this next step. Charlie. Can't wait to share my business vision with everyone. They still don't know what you're up to, Jarvis asked, watching my face. Nope. They think I'm still struggling with my simple path. I made air quotes. Let them think that. My phone rang. Haley this time. Turn on your mom's Facebook Live, she said without greeting. You need to see this. I pulled it up. Mom was hosting one of her success strategy sessions for her social media followers. The camera panned to show her perfect living room, her perfect outfit, her perfect smile. And yes, parenting is about tough choices, she was saying. Sometimes you have to make difficult decisions for the greater good. Take my daughters. One needed a push toward excellence, while the other... She paused dramatically. Well, sometimes struggling builds character. Jarvis cursed under his breath. Are you hearing this? Haley demanded. Oh, I'm hearing it. I watched the likes and hearts float across the screen. And I'm saving it. A comment popped up. You're such an inspiration. Wish you were my mom. Keep watching, Haley said. It gets better. Mom's voice continued. In fact, I'm writing a book about strategic parenting. About knowing when to invest and when to step back. When to nurture potential and when to let natural consequences teach their lessons. She's monetizing it, I said flatly. She's actually monetizing what they did to me. The doorbell rang in Jarvis's apartment. He returned with an older man I recognized, Abel Wade, my parents' financial advisor. Sorry to interrupt, Abel said, but I thought you should have these. He handed me a folder. Copies of some interesting transactions I've noticed lately. I opened it. Inside were records of money movements between accounts, Large sums flowing from my parents to Charlie's accounts, then disappearing into what looked like risky investments. "They're burning through their retirement fund," Abel said quietly, trying to maintain appearances, "and they're starting to ask questions about your grandmother's trust fund." My grandmother Louisa's words from years ago echoed in my head. "Keep your eyes open, little one. Not everything that glitters is gold." "Thank you," I told Abel. "This helps." After he left, Jarvis looked at me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking we need to accelerate our timeline." I pulled out my laptop. "How fast can we get the beta version ready?" 2 weeks, maybe less with overtime." "Do it. I'll cover the extra hours." I showed him my personal accounts, the careful savings, the small but growing investments. "We need to launch before they burn everything down." My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "Noelle, it's grandmother. Call me when you can, privately." "The pieces are moving," Jarvis observed. "Yeah." I stood up, gathering my things. "And so are we." That night, I called Louisa from my car. "I've been watching," she said without preamble. "You're planning something." "Yes." "Good." Her voice was steel. "They forgot something important, you know. About that trust fund they're eyeing." "What's that?" "I made you the executor. Not them, not Charlie. You." I sat there, stunned. "Just thought you should know," she continued. "For when the time comes." After we hung up, I drove to the office Jarvis and I had secretly leased. The sign wasn't up yet, but our company existed on paper. 6 months of working through lunch breaks, of coding until dawn, of building something they'd never expect. My phone lit up with another group text. "Mom, don't forget Sunday dinner. Big announcements coming." Charlie, "Can't wait to share my business school journey. Everyone will be so inspired." I smiled, thinking of our app's upcoming launch, of the clients already lined up, of the carefully documented paper trail of my parents' financial decisions. "Oh, I wouldn't miss it," I texted back. "I have some announcements of my own." Then I turned off my phone and got back to work. The best revenge, after all, is served one calculated step at a time. "Your app just hit 10,000 downloads," Haley announced, bursting into our office, "and Kelly's coffee shop chain wants to expand the contract." I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been reviewing the latest numbers. 1 year of silent grinding had turned into something bigger than even I'd imagined. "Have you seen this?" Jarvis called from his desk, turning his monitor toward me. On the screen was Charlie's latest Instagram post, a tearful selfie in her luxury apartment. "Had to make the hardest decision today. Saying goodbye to my dream penthouse. But sometimes life has other plans. Stay tuned for my next chapter. Blessed, or hustling, or never give up." My phone rang. Mom's familiar ringtone. "Here we go," I muttered, putting it on speaker. "Noelle, thank goodness you answered." Mom's voice was frantic. "We have a situation with Charlie." "Let me guess," I cut in. "She can't afford her apartment anymore?" "It's temporary," Mom insisted. "Just until her MBA starts paying off. We thought since you're doing so stable now, maybe you could help? Family has to stick together." I caught Haley rolling her eyes. "Actually," I said, "I'm a bit tied up with work right now." "Work?" Mom scoffed. "At that little coffee shop? Surely you can—" "I have to go. I have a meeting." I hung up as Jarvis walked over with a document. "Speaking of meetings," he said, "the beach house listing just came through." I took the paper, studying the familiar address, my parents' dream retirement property, the one they'd been eyeing for years. "They can't afford it anymore," I said, scanning the price. "Not with Charlie's debts." "No," Jarvis agreed, "but we can." 3 hours later, I sat in a real estate office signing the final papers. The beach house was mine, purchased through a shell company, of course. "Your parents called again," Haley reported when I returned. "Twice, and Charlie's been posting cryptic quotes about toxic success culture and the truth about privilege." "Show me." She pulled up Charlie's stories, A series of perfectly filtered photos with captions about revealing her authentic journey and exposing the dark side of pressure to succeed. She's trying to rebrand her failure, Jarvis observed, turn it into content. While asking me to bail her out, I added, classic. My phone buzzed with a text from Abel. Your parents just tried to access Louisa's trust fund. I stalled them, but they're getting desperate. Another notification popped up, an email from Mom. Darling, we're hosting a retirement announcement party next month. Your father and I have exciting plans to share. We're counting on our girls to help launch our next chapter. Haley read over my shoulder. They're retiring? Now? They think they can, I said, opening our company's financial reports. They don't know their safety net is gone. Our app's success had been carefully hidden behind corporate structures and NDAs. As far as my family knew, I was still working entry-level jobs, living paycheck to paycheck. The timing's perfect, Jarvis said quietly. Everything's in place. I nodded, pulling up a document I'd been preparing for months. The title read, Financial Reconciliation and Repayment Agreement. Send the RSVP, I told Haley. Tell them I wouldn't miss it for the world. My phone lit up again. Grandmother Louisa. I heard about the beach house, she said when I answered. Clever girl. You taught me to play the long game. They're planning to announce their retirement at the party, she continued. Your mother's already talking about writing a book about strategic family planning or some nonsense. I know. What are you going to do? I looked at the agreement on my screen, at the carefully calculated figures representing years of stolen opportunities. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, I said. A very public family moment. After hanging up, I opened my email to find a message from our app's biggest investor yet, a national restaurant chain wanting to implement our system. Holy shit, Jarvis breathed, reading the numbers. This is it. We're about to go big. Perfect timing, I said, saving the email. Right before their party. Haley perched on my desk. Are you ready for this? Once you do it, there's no going back. I thought about Mom's social media empire built on my struggles, about Dad's cold dismissal of my potential, about Charlie's endless demands for support while posting about her blessed life. They wanted me to be practical, I said, starting to type my response to the investor. So I practically built an empire while they weren't looking. And now? I smiled, thinking of the beach house keys in my drawer, of the agreement waiting to be served, of the carefully orchestrated revelation to come. Now they get to see exactly what their simple daughter can do. The guest list is over 200 people, Haley reported, scrolling through Mom's event page. She's invited every social media connection she has. Of course she has. I adjusted my blazer in the mirror. The retirement party was 2 days away and final preparations were underway. It's not real unless it's public. My phone buzzed. Charlie calling for the 3rd time today. I let it go to voicemail. She's getting desperate, Jarvis noted, not looking up from his laptop. The eviction notice must have arrived. The door opened and Abel walked in, carrying a thick folder. You need to see this. They've started liquidating assets. I took the folder, scanning the documents. Investment accounts drained, credit cards maxed out, loans taken against their house. They're throwing everything they have into this party, Abel said. Your mother's convinced her strategic parenting book deal will save them. While Charlie's MBA is bleeding them dry, I added, perfect storm. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Darling, we need to discuss your role in the retirement announcement. Your father and I have such wonderful plans for the family's future. Haley snorted. They still think you're their backup plan. Not for long. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the final version of the agreement. Everything's ready? Jarvis nodded. The press release about our company's national expansion is scheduled for an hour before the party. Trading should start right as you're serving them the papers. And I've got the PowerPoint ready, Haley added with a wicked grin. Complete with all those lovely social media screenshots. My phone rang again. Grandmother Louisa this time. "They're at my house," she said without preamble, trying to convince me to sign over the trust fund early. "What did you tell them?" "That I'd think about it." She paused. "They're planning something big at this party, Noelle. Your mother's already talking about passing the torch to you girls. Let them plan." I looked at the beach house deed sitting on my desk. Everything's taken care of. After hanging up, I checked my email. The national restaurant chain had confirmed their 8-figure contract. Our app was about to become industry standard. "Incoming drama," Haley warned, holding up her phone. Charlie was live on Instagram, mascara running artistically down her cheeks. "And sometimes we have to be vulnerable," she was saying. "Success isn't what it looks like on social media. That's why I'm launching my new coaching program, Authentic Failure, the New Success Story." "She's trying to monetize her downfall," Jarvis observed, smart in a desperate sort of way. My office door burst open. Charlie herself stood there, designer bag hanging limply from her arm. "Why aren't you answering my calls?" she demanded. "I need you." "I'm working," I said calmly. "Some of us have to." She looked around the office, taking in the modern furniture, the wall of awards, the staff beyond the glass doors. "What is this place? Why are you in an executive office?" "Because I'm an executive." Her eyes narrowed. "No, you work at coffee shops. Mom says a lot of things." I stood up. "What do you want, Charlie?" "I need help with the rent, just until my coaching business takes off." She pulled out her phone. "Look, I already have 50 followers interested in my course about overcoming privilege." "Overcoming privilege?" I couldn't help laughing. "You mean the privilege of stealing my college fund?" Her face fell. "That was years ago. Why can't you let it go? We're family." "Family?" I picked up the agreement from my desk. "Funny you should mention that." "What's that?" "Something for the party." I smiled. "You are coming, right? To support Mom and Dad's retirement?" She shifted uncomfortably. "About that. They're kind of counting on us to help them transition. Mostly you, since you're so practical." "Oh, I'll help them transition all right." I sat back down. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run." "But my rent? Try selling your designer bags." I turned to my computer. "I hear authenticity is trending." After she left, Haley whistled low. "That was cold." "That was practice," I corrected, pulling up the party details. "The real show starts in 2 days." My phone buzzed one last time. Mom again. "Darling, don't forget to dress professionally for the party. We're announcing some major changes and we need you looking your best. Can't wait to share our vision for the family's future." I looked at my team, at the empire we'd built in silence, at the carefully laid plans about to unfold. "Oh, I'll dress professionally," I murmured. Very professionally indeed. The country club ballroom buzzed with excitement. Mom had outdone herself. Crystal centerpieces, champagne towers, a professional photographer documenting every moment. Their retirement party looked like a wedding, complete with a stage for announcements. "Ready?" Jarvis squeezed my hand under the table. "Born ready." I checked my phone. Our company's press release had just gone live, and business news sites were already picking it up. Haley slid into the seat beside me. "Your sister's having a meltdown in the bathroom. Something about her credit cards being declined at the salon." "Ladies and gentlemen," Dad's voice boomed through the microphone. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate this milestone with our family." Mom joined him on stage, radiant in an expensive new dress. "We have some exciting announcements to share about the next chapter of our lives." I watched them work the crowd, dropping hints about their upcoming plans. Mom's book deal, Dad's consulting ventures, their dreams of traveling the world while their successful daughters carried on their legacy. "And now," Mom gushed, "we'd like to invite our girls up here. Charlie, Noelle, please join us." Charlie emerged from the bathroom, makeup hastily fixed, and practically ran to the stage. I took my time, straightening my designer suit, the first one I'd ever bought myself. "Our daughters represent everything we've worked for." Dad announced proudly. Through strategic parenting and careful investment in their futures, we've created a legacy that will... About that investment, I cut in, taking the microphone. Let's talk numbers, shall we? The room went quiet. Mom's smile froze. Noelle, she warned quietly, this isn't the time.
Actually, it's exactly the time. I nodded to Haley, who started the PowerPoint. Let's begin with my college fund, $200,000, redirected to Charlie's luxury apartment without my knowledge or consent. The first slide showed the transfer documents. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then there's the years of family emergencies that somehow always coincided with Charlie's shopping sprees. More slides appeared, the Instagram posts next to bank statements. Not to mention Mom's social media empire, built on marketing my struggles as character building while hiding the truth. That's enough. Dad tried to grab the microphone, but I held firm. Oh, I'm just getting started. I pulled out the agreement. This documents every penny you took from me, every opportunity you stole, every lie you told. And now, I want it all back. You ungrateful, Mom began, but stopped as the next slide appeared. It was our company's press release. The headline read, Coffee Shop Management App Goes National, Young CEO's Success Story. While you were investing in Charlie's potential, I continued, I was building something real, something that just signed an 8-figure contract. The crowd murmured. Phones came out as people pulled up the news. And that beach house you've been dreaming of? I produced the deed. I bought it, last week, cash offer. Charlie stumbled backward. But you work in coffee shops. I own the software that runs them. I turned to face the audience. My parents taught me something valuable after all, how to recognize a good investment. And right now, they're a bad one. We're your parents, Mom's voice cracked. Everything we did was for this family. No. I handed them the agreement. Everything you did was for appearances, and now the bill is due. Dad scanned the document, his face paling. These numbers, this is ridiculous. It's actually quite reasonable. Abel's voice came from the crowd. I helped calculate the interest. You have 24 hours to sign, I said calmly. Or I release everything, every document, every message, every manipulative post to your entire social network. I'm sure your followers would love to know the truth behind your strategic parenting success story. You wouldn't dare, Mom whispered. I smiled. Try me. The room erupted in whispers. Phones flashed as people captured the moment. Mom's carefully curated image crumbled in real time. By the way, I added, Grandmother Louisa says hello. She's quite impressed with how I've managed her trust fund. You know, the one you've been trying to access? Charlie burst into tears, running from the stage. Mom followed, calling her name. Dad stood there, agreement in hand, looking suddenly old. The papers will be at your house tomorrow, I said, straightening my jacket. Don't make me wait. As I walked off stage, Haley and Jarvis fell in beside me. The crowd parted, phones still recording. Was it worth it? Jarvis asked quietly. I looked back at the chaos we'd left behind, the shattered facade, the exposed lies, the years of manipulation finally brought to light. Ask me tomorrow, I said, heading for the door. Right now, I have a beach house to visit. The beach house deck creaked under my feet as I sipped my morning coffee. Dawn painted the ocean pink, and the salty breeze carried away the last whispers of yesterday's storm. My phone buzzed. Haley sending a screenshot of Mom's latest social media post. Taking a step back from public life to focus on family healing. Sometimes our greatest teachings come from our greatest mistakes. Chaka humbled, Chaka reflection. She's still trying to spin it, Haley texted, but her followers aren't buying it anymore. The screen lit up with another message. Abel. They've signed everything. The transfer is complete. I set my phone down and breathed in the ocean air. The money didn't matter anymore. It never really did. What mattered was the truth, finally seeing daylight.
The sliding door opened behind me. Jarvis emerged with 2 fresh coffees, handing me one. "Charlie's launching her new brand," he said, called it Authentic Aftermath, coaching for people dealing with family financial trauma. I couldn't help but laugh. At least she's finally being honest about something. "Your grandmother's here," he added. "Just pulled up." Louisa appeared moments later, moving slowly but deliberately toward the deck chairs. "Nice place," she said, settling in. "Worth every penny of that trust fund I helped you protect." "Thank you," I said quietly, "for seeing what was happening all those years ago. I saw you, child, that's all." She patted my hand. Someone had to. My phone rang, Dad's number. I let it go to voicemail. "They're selling the house," Louisa informed me, "moving into something more modest after the repayment cleared. And Mom's book deal? Cancelled, but she's already pitching a new one. Healing from Perfection, or some such nonsense." The sun climbed higher, turning the water to diamonds. Below the deck, early morning surfers dotted the waves like black dots on blue paper. "You know," Louisa said, "revenge is like salt water. It feels cleansing, but drink too much and it'll poison you." "I'm not drinking it anymore," I replied. "I'm just swimming in it." The door slid open again. Haley this time, tablet in hand. "The app just hit 1 million active users," she announced. "And Kelly's original coffee shop wants to do a feature story about how it all started." "Full circle," Jarvis mused. My phone buzzed with a text from Charlie. "I get it now. What we did to you, what they did. I'm sorry." I showed it to Louisa, who nodded slowly. "First honest thing that girl's said in years." "Maybe losing everything wasn't the worst thing for her," I said. "Or for them," Louisa added. "Your parents needed this wake-up call, even if they're still hitting snooze." A notification popped up. Mom had tagged me in a post. A throwback photo of us at my high school graduation, before everything fell apart. Her caption read, "To my firstborn. I'm sorry we couldn't see your worth. I'm sorry we confused investment with love. Some debts can never be repaid, but I hope someday you'll let us try. Regret." "Truth. Progress," Louisa observed. "Small, but real." "Too little, too late?" Haley asked gently. I thought about the years of struggle, of invisible victories and silent achievements, of building something from nothing while they built nothing from everything. "No," I said finally. "Just too little for now." Jarvis squeezed my shoulder. "The company needs a new headquarters soon. Beachfront office space would be nice." "Perfect view for watching the tide change," Louisa agreed. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Abel. "Your parents asked me to tell you they're starting therapy. Real therapy, not social media therapy. Thought you should know." The morning sun warmed my face as I typed back, "Good. They'll need it." "What now?" Haley asked, settling into a deck chair. I looked at my chosen family gathered around me. Haley's unwavering support, Jarvis's quiet strength, Louisa's sharp wisdom, at the empire we'd built while others weren't looking, at the truth we'd exposed to the light. "Now?" I smiled, raising my coffee cup. "Now we succeed." Loudly, they lifted their cups in return, and the morning light caught the moment like a photograph. Not filtered, not staged, just real. As the sun climbed higher, I felt the last weight of the past slide off my shoulders, carried away by the tide. Some debts can never be repaid, but some victories don't need to be. Sometimes winning isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. And I was finally, completely free.
I found out my dream was stolen while eating a microwave burrito in my car. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I always park under the dead oak tree behind the clinic on Tuesdays, less foot traffic. I had just clocked out of a 12-hour shift. My feet were screaming and I was trying to psych myself up to check the IVF fund one more time, just to see it, to remind myself it was real. that after 3 years of ramen dinners, skipped vacations, and selling half my closet on Poshmark, I had finally hit 20,130 I opened the app, entered my password, waited. Balance, 74.19. I blinked, hit refresh, still 74.19. My heart didn't drop, it detonated. I stared at the screen like it was a joke, like maybe the app was glitching. But deep down, I knew. I knew in the same way you know when someone's lying to your face. Cold, immediate, undeniable. My name is Rosalie, and 3 years of my life vanished in a single loading screen. I called the bank, got transferred 3 times. Finally, a woman named Linda told me there had been 2 large withdrawals, $10,000 and $9,800, both authorized by someone listed as a co-owner, my mother. I didn't even know she was on the account. I drove straight to their house, didn't call, didn't think. I was halfway up the front steps before I realized I'd left my burrito on the dashboard, uneaten. The door opened before I knocked. Rosalie, Mom said, like I'd shown up to borrow sugar. She wore a silk robe and had a glass of wine in hand. It was 4 in the afternoon. "Where's Dad?" I asked. "In the den," she said. "What's wrong?" I pushed past her. "You know what's wrong." Dad was on the couch watching golf. He muted the TV when he saw me. "I want to know why $20,000 is missing from my IVF fund," I said. My voice was steady, too steady, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. He looked at Mom. She took a sip of wine, then sighed like I was being difficult. "We meant to talk to you," she said. "Then talk." "It was for Kaya's wedding," she said, like that explained everything. She needed help with the venue deposit and flights and the dress. I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "So you stole it." "We didn't steal anything," Dad said quickly. "We're listed on the account. It's technically a family." "It's my money," I snapped. "I worked for it. I saved every cent. That account was for IVF. You knew that." "You're being dramatic," Mom said. "Kaya's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. You'll have another chance." I stared at her. "You think I can just restart fertility treatments like a Netflix show?" She didn't answer. "Do you know what I put my body through?" I said louder now. "The hormones, the failed cycles, the surgeries, and God, you took it for a fishing wedding?" "It wasn't just a wedding," she said. "It's family. You should be happy for your sister." I turned to Dad. "You knew?" He looked down. "We thought we'd pay it back eventually." "When?" I asked. "After the honeymoon? After the baby shower? Oh, wait, that's me. I'm the one who can't have kids." "Don't make this about you," Mom said sharply. I stared at her. It was my money. "You're always so jealous of Kaya," she said. "It's exhausting." That hit harder than anything else. Not the money, not the betrayal. That sentence. I walked out, didn't slam the door, didn't say goodbye, just walked. I sat in my car for a long time. The burrito was cold. I threw it out the window. An hour later, my phone buzzed, a voicemail from Dad. "Rosie, please don't tell anyone. It would ruin everything. Kaya's wedding, it's important. Just let it go. We'll make it right eventually. Please." Eventually. I played it twice. Then I opened my notes app and wrote 3 words. They chose her. And I promised myself that would be the last time they ever did. I didn't cry, not once. Not when I played the voicemail again, not when I checked the bank records 5 more times, not even when I called the clinic and canceled my IVF cycle. I got to work. First, I pulled up every email confirmation from the bank, the ones I'd ignored because I trusted the account was safe. Buried in the fine print, authorized withdrawal of $10,000 initiated by secondary account holder. Then another, $9,800. The dates matched the same week Kaya had posted a photo of a beachfront villa with the caption, "Dreams do come true, Serukaya and Dill forever." I took screenshots, saved them to a folder I titled Truth. Next, I logged into my cloud drive and uploaded copies of the bank statements, the voicemail, and every monthly deposit I'd made into that account. 3 years of sacrifice in black and white, my name on every line. I stared at the screen, then I texted, "Zella." Me. "You busy?" Zella. "Always. What's up?" Me. "I need to tell you something. It's bad." Zella. "Wine or whiskey?" Me. "Both." She showed up 20 minutes later with a bottle in each hand and a face that said she was ready to commit a felony on my behalf. I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a second. Then she said, "That's not just betrayal, that's theft." "Technically, they're on the account," I said. "Technically, my boss is on the office Keurig, but if he drinks my last pod, I'll still key his car." I laughed. First time in days. "You're not crazy," she said. "You're not jealous. You're not overreacting. This is war." I nodded. Then I need ammo. That weekend, I went to the family brunch. It was at some overpriced bistro downtown. Kaya had rented out the private room and decorated it like a Pinterest board exploded. Rose gold everything, custom name cards, a neon sign that said "Bride Vibes." I walked in like nothing was wrong. Mom air kissed me. "Rosalie, you look tired. Are you eating enough?" "Plenty," I said, smiling tightly. Kaya floated over in a white romper and heels that probably cost more than my rent. "So glad you came. We were just talking about the bachelorette trip. We're thinking Bora Bora." "Sounds expensive," I said. She laughed like I'd told a joke. "Luckily, I got the best parents in the world." I glanced at Mom. Her smile twitched. The waiter brought mimosas. Kaya stood up, clinking her glass. "I just want to take a moment to thank Mom and Dad," she said, eyes shining, "for making this wedding everything I ever dreamed of. I'm so lucky to have you." Everyone clapped. I didn't. Dad looked at me, briefly, then away. After brunch, while everyone was taking selfies in front of the neon sign, I slipped away, found the den, the office, the place I used to do homework while Kaya had dance recitals and cheer tryouts. Dad's desk was unlocked. He never changed. I opened the bottom drawer and found it, a leather-bound ledger. He still kept paper records, old school. I flipped through until I found it. 2011, Rosalie's college fund, $12,000 transfer to Kaya, student loan, payoff. I stared at the page, then snapped a photo. 12 years ago. I dropped out after one semester, thinking I couldn't afford it. They told me the fund had been used for house repairs. I walked out of that house with a smile on my face and fire in my chest. Later that night, Zella and I sat on my couch, wine glasses in hand, laptop open. "You've got receipts," she said, "literal receipts." "Yeah, now what?" I scrolled through the folder. "Now I stopped playing nice." She raised her glass. "To revenge." I clinked mine against hers. "To truth." My phone buzzed. A text from Kaya. "Hey, can you Venmo me $80 for the brunch? Forgot to split the bill." I stared at it. Then I sent back one word. No. The reconciliation lunch was held at my parents' house, which already told me everything I needed to know. I showed up anyway. Mom opened the door like she was hosting a garden party. "Rosalie," she said, all syrup and smiles, "we're so glad you came." Dad stood awkwardly in the foyer, hands tucked into his pockets. Kaya was perched at the dining table like a smug little bird, sipping iced tea with a straw and scrolling through her phone. Let's sit, Mom said, gesturing toward the table like a maitre d'. I sat at the far end. No one offered me a drink. So, Kaya said, tucking her phone away, we just wanted to clear the air. There's been tension. You stole from me, I said flatly. Dad winced. Mom gave a tight smile. Rosalie, let's not use inflammatory language. What should I call it then? A donation I didn't know I made? Kaya rolled her eyes. God, you're still on this? Yes, I snapped. Because it was my IVF fund, my future, and you used it to pay for a fucking flower wall. It was more than that, Mom said. It was a family decision. No, I said. It was your decision, and you made it without me. Dad cleared his throat. We're here to apologize. Go ahead. He looked at Mom. She gave him a nod like she was feeding him his lines. We're sorry, he said. We didn't mean to hurt you. That's it? I asked. Kaya leaned forward. Look, I get that you're upset, but this wedding is a huge deal. It's not just about me. It's about our whole family. You could have been part of it, but instead you're making it all about you. I stared at her. You're welcome. She blinked. What? For your dream wedding. You're welcome. Oh my God, she said, laughing. You're so bitter. You've always been bitter. Enough, Mom said sharply. This isn't helping. I turned to her. You knew I was saving for IVF. You knew how hard I worked, and you didn't even ask. We didn't think you'd go through with it, she said. You're not even dating anyone. I don't need a man to want a child. She tilted her head. You're not a mother. You wouldn't understand doing everything for your children. The silence after that was loud. I stood up. You know what? You're right. I'm not a mother, but apparently neither are you. Dad stood too. Rosie, please. I pulled my phone from my pocket and tapped the screen. I recorded this, by the way. Mom's smile cracked. What? This whole conversation, just in case I need to remind myself how little I matter to this family. Kaya scoffed. You're so dramatic. I walked to the door, and you're so predictable. As I opened it, Mom called after me. What are you going to do with that recording? I turned back. Whatever I want. That night, I uploaded the audio file to the truth folder. Then I called an old college friend, Leah, who worked at a small law firm downtown. I need some advice, I said. We met the next day in her office. I laid it all out, every document, every transfer, every receipt. She flipped through the pages, eyebrows raised. They were listed as co-owners? Yeah, I didn't even know. She nodded. It complicates things, but not fatally. If you can prove they used the funds for something outside the agreed purpose, especially without your consent, you might have a civil case. Like what? Small claims? Possibly, or misappropriation of funds. Depends on how far you want to take it. I leaned back. I don't want money. I want the truth out. She tapped the folder. You got a case, but more than that, you've got evidence. That's power. I left her office and sat in my car staring at the dashboard. Then I opened my phone and renamed the folder, Operation Truth. Later that week, Kaya posted a photo of her wedding dress. Caption, she said yes to the dress. Thanks to my amazing parents for making dreams come true. I screenshotted it, added it to the folder. Then I opened my voice memo app and hit record. This is Rosalie, and this is the story of how my family stole my future to pay for a wedding. Let's begin. I hadn't seen Jonah in 6 years. He messaged me out of nowhere after I posted a photo of the ocean with no caption. It wasn't subtle. I'd driven to the coast after work just to breathe something that didn't smell like antiseptic or betrayal. I guess he still followed me. Jonah. That view looks familiar. Me. Still your favorite spot. Jonah. You still drink your coffee black and your revenge ice cold? I laughed. First real one in days. We met up at a dive bar on the edge of town, the kind with sticky tables, cheap beer, and a jukebox that only played blues or heartbreak. He looked the same, a little older, more beard, same crooked smile. Rosie, he said, pulling me into a hug, you look like you're about to burn down a village. Maybe just a wedding, I said. We sat in a booth in the corner away from the noise. I told him everything, the savings, the theft, the brunch, the recording. He didn't interrupt, just listened, eyes locked on mine. When I finished, he leaned back. Damn. Yeah. They always favored Kaya, huh? I nodded. Since birth? I remember that time in high school, he said. You got into that writing camp in Chicago, and your mom said it was too far. But 2 weeks later, Kaya got flown to L.A. for a modeling audition. I blinked. You remember that? Of course I do. You cried in my car for an hour. I looked down at my drink. I used to think if I just worked hard enough, they'd notice me, like really see me. He was quiet for a second. They don't deserve you. I shook my head. It's not about that anymore. It's about what they took. He leaned in. Just promise me something. What? When you burn their world down, make sure you're ready to walk through the ashes. I didn't answer. The next day, I visited my old childhood bedroom. It still smelled like lemon cleaner and disappointment. I was digging through boxes when I heard a knock. I opened the door to find Hannah, my cousin from Mom's side. We hadn't talked in years. Hey, she said, glancing around like she'd been followed. Can we talk? We sat on the porch steps. I saw your post, she said, the one with the waves. I raised an eyebrow. That's what brought you here? She hesitated. No, I've been meaning to reach out. There's something you need to know. I waited. Your mom took out a second mortgage years ago, in your name. I blinked. What? She used your info, said it was for family renovations. My dad helped her with the paperwork. He felt guilty for years. I felt the air leave my lungs. How much? About 20 grand. Paid off last year. Guess how? My stomach turned. The IVF fund. She nodded. That's fraud, I said. I know. I stared at the street. Why are you telling me this? Because I've watched them do this to you your whole life, and I'm done pretending it's normal. I swallowed hard. Thank you. She stood. Also, Dylan? What about him? He's not who he says he is. I narrowed my eyes. Explain. I used to work at a PR firm in Austin. We had a client, Whitney Henry. She was engaged to a guy named Dylan. Same last name, same face. The wedding got called off, quietly. But there were rumors. What kind of rumors? Domestic stuff, money stuff. She moved states to get away from him. My pulse kicked up. Do you have her info? She pulled out a card. She's willing to talk. She said if you called, she'd pick up. I took the card. Why are you really helping me? Hannah looked at me, eyes sharp. Because if you don't stop them, they'll keep doing it. And one day it'll be someone who can't recover. She walked away without another word. That night I called Whitney. She answered on the second ring. Hello? Hi, my name's Rosalie. I think we have a Dylan in common. Silence. Then, I was wondering when someone would call. We talked for an hour. She told me about the gaslighting, the control, the way he used money to isolate her. Then she sent me an audio file, him screaming at her over a credit card charge. It made my skin crawl. Would you be willing to share this? I asked. Under one condition, she said. I want to be there when it happens. When what happens? When you destroy him. I smiled. You free next weekend? She laughed. I'll buy a dress. I added her file to the truth folder. Then I opened a blank document and typed, "Wedding Toast Draft." Thank you all for coming. Let's talk about what love really looks like. The cafe was quiet, the kind of place with chipped mugs and faded menus. Hannah sat across from me, stirring her coffee like she was trying to dissolve a secret. "I pulled the deed records," she said, sliding a folder across the table. "It's all there. The second mortgage was filed under your name. Signature's forged, but it passed because your mom had access to your social." I opened the folder. My name, my fake signature, my future sold off like a pawn ticket. "She used it to pay off the first loan," Hannah continued, "the one she took out when Kaya dropped out of grad school." I looked up. Wait, what loan? "She said it was for emergency expenses. My dad co-signed, but the money went straight to Kaya's tuition and apartment." I closed the folder. "So I've been funding her life since she was 20. Hannah nodded. "And she has no idea." I leaned back in the booth, heart pounding. This wedding isn't just a wedding, it's a cover-up. Exactly. I pulled out my phone and added the deed photos to the truth folder. Then I texted Zella. Me. "We need to meet tonight. Bring your laptop." Zella showed up with her laptop, a bottle of wine, and a look that said she was ready to commit a felony. I laid everything out. The mortgage, the tuition, the forged signature. She whistled. "Your mom's got bigger balls than I thought." "She's been playing puppet master for years," I said. "Kaya's just the doll." Zella started typing. "We need visuals, a timeline, receipts, bank statements, photos. If we're going to do this, it needs to be cleaned. We're doing it at the wedding." She looked up. "You're serious?" "I'm giving a toast." She grinned. "God, I love you." We worked until 2 a.m., building a slideshow. First slide, a photo of me and Kaya as kids. She's in a princess dress. I'm in hand-me-downs. Then the bank transfers, the forged mortgage, the voicemail from Dad, and finally the audio clip from Whitney. The last slide was simple. This is what love really looks like. The next day, I met Whitney at a diner off the highway. She wore sunglasses and a leather jacket like she expected paparazzi. "I'm not doing this for you," she said, stirring her tea. "I'm doing it because no one warned me." "I get it." She slid me a USB. "That's everything. Emails, texts, the audio. Use whatever you want." "You sure?" She nodded. "He doesn't get to keep doing this." I hesitated. "What happened after you left him?" "I started over, different city, changed my number, but I still check his name every few months just in case." I swallowed. "You're brave." She laughed. "No, I'm just tired." I reached into my bag and pulled out an invitation. "You're my +1." She raised an eyebrow. "You're bringing me to the wedding?" "Front row." She smiled. "Then I'll wear red." That night, Jonah came over. He watched the slideshow without saying a word. When it ended, he looked at me. "This is going to blow up everything." "I know." He leaned forward. "And what happens after?" "I don't know." He nodded slowly. "You're not doing this for revenge anymore, are you?" "No," I said. "I'm doing it so the next time they lie, they choke on it." He stood up, walked over, and pulled me into a hug. "You're not alone," he said into my hair. I held on to him a little longer than I meant to. The wedding was 3 days away. I scheduled the slideshow to auto-upload to a public link 2 hours after the toast. I backed it up on 3 drives. One went to Zella, one to Jonah, one to a safety deposit box. I printed out a transcript of my toast and folded it into my clutch. Then I looked in the mirror and said out loud, "They don't get to write the ending." My phone buzzed, a message from Kaya. "Can't wait to see you this weekend, sis. So glad we're all good now." I stared at it. Then I smiled. Cheered me. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The wedding venue looked like something out of a luxury magazine. White roses, gold chairs, glass chandeliers dangling from a tent that probably cost more than my car. Servers floated around with trays of champagne, and every guest had a custom monogram fan because the bride doesn't sweat, she glows. I walked in with Whitney by my side, both of us in black. "You sure about this?" she asked, adjusting her sunglasses. "Too late to back out now," I said, scanning the crowd. "Besides, you look like vengeance." She smirked. "You look like karma." Zella met us near the bar wearing a navy jumpsuit and a grin that could slice glass. "Everything's uploaded," she said, handing me a flash drive. "Fail-safe's in place. Dropbox link goes live at 6:45. That gives you enough time to toast, mic drop, and exit before the fireworks." Literal fireworks? Apparently, Kaya's finale is a drone light show spelling out "Forever Starts Now." I blinked. God help us. Jonah arrived 10 minutes later, suit pressed, hair slicked back. He handed me a small envelope. "What's this?" "Letter from your lawyer friend," he said, "just in case they try to spin this as slander." I tucked it into my clutch. "Thanks for coming." He looked at me. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." I took a deep breath and stepped into the sea of pastel dresses and fake smiles. Mom spotted me first. "Rosalie," she said, gliding over in a champagne-colored gown. "You came." I said I would. She touched my arm like everything was fine. "I'm so glad you've let things go. Family's too important to hold grudges." I smiled. "You're right. Family is everything." Her eyes narrowed just a touch, like she sensed something off. Then Kaya appeared, practically floating in her lace gown. "Rosie," she squealed, hugging me like we were best friends. "You look amazing." "So do you," I said. "This is a lot." "Go big or go home, right?" She laughed. "I'm just so happy you're here. I told Mom you'd come around." I looked her straight in the eye. "Wouldn't miss it." The ceremony started late, of course. Kaya made her entrance to a string quartet version of Beyoncé's Halo. Dylan stood at the altar in a white tux, grinning like he owned the world. They exchanged vows that sounded like Instagram captions, kissed dramatically, and walked back down the aisle to applause and bubbles. Then came the reception. I ate nothing, drank water, smiled at people I didn't recognize, waited. At 6:30, the DJ tapped the mic. "All right, everyone, time for a few words from our lovely maid of honor, Rosalie." I stood slowly, heart pounding, and walked to the stage. Mom clapped. Dad looked relieved. Kaya beamed, hand in Dylan's. I took the mic. "Hi, everyone," I said, voice steady. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rosalie, Kaya's older sister." Polite applause. I wasn't always sure I'd be standing up here. We've had our ups and downs like any family. But today I want to talk about love. I paused, looked around the room. Love is sacrifice. It's choosing someone else's happiness even when it costs you. It's honesty, loyalty, protecting the people you care about. I glanced at Kaya, and sometimes love is letting go. I reached into my clutch and pulled out a small remote. Before I go on, I'd like to share something. The screen behind me lit up. Slide 1, a photo of me and Kaya as kids. Slide 2, a screenshot of the bank account, 2,130 Slide 3, the withdrawals, the dates, the names. A ripple went through the room. Slide 4, the voicemail from Dad. His voice played over the speakers. "Rosie, please don't tell anyone. It would ruin everything." Gasps, murmurs. Slide 5, the forged mortgage document. Slide 6, Dylan's audio, his voice angry, cruel. You think I need you? I made you. I'll ruin you if you leave. Whitney stood up slowly, removing her sunglasses. Kaya's face drained of color. Dylan stood, fists clenched. Mom bolted from her seat. Turn it off! I looked at her. Why? You always said I was too quiet. The final slide appeared. This is what love really looks like. The room was silent, then chaos. Dylan stormed out, shouting at someone on the phone. Kaya burst into tears. Mom lunged toward the stage, but Jonah stepped in front of her. Don't, he said calmly. Cameras flashed, guests whispered. Someone live-streamed it. Dad sat frozen, hands in his lap. I stepped down from the stage. Mom grabbed my arm. You'll regret this. I looked her dead in the eyes. Not as much as you've made me regret being your daughter. I walked past Kaya, who was sobbing into her bouquet. Congrats, I said. You finally got the attention you always wanted. Then I walked out into the night, the sound of drone motors buzzing behind me, spelling out a lie in the sky. People say silence is peaceful. They've never walked through the kind that follows a bomb. I stood just outside the tent, the night air thick with tension. Inside, the wedding had collapsed into chaos. The string quartet had stopped playing. The caterers looked like they wanted to disappear. Guests whispered in tight little circles, eyes darting toward Kaya, who sat crumpled in a chair, mascara streaking down her face. Zella joined me outside, phone in hand. The link's live, already getting shared. How bad is it? She turned the screen toward me. Comments were pouring in under the video. This is insane. I'd sue my parents into the ground. That sister is a legend. Kaya's a whole villain. I took a breath. It's done. Not yet, she said. Look. We turned. Mom was storming toward me, heels digging into the grass like she was about to bury someone. You smug little, she hissed. Jonah stepped between us again, calm as ever. Don't. She glared at him, then back at me. You've ruined everything. No, I said. I revealed it. You humiliated your sister on the most important day of her life. She humiliated herself when she spent my future on a flower wall. Dad jogged up behind her, panting. We need to go. People are filming. Mom spun on him. Do something. He looked at me, then the crowd, then back at her. And for once he didn't say a word. She turned back to me. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. Just free. Security showed up. One of the venue managers whispered something to them and pointed at my parents. A second later, they were being escorted off the property. Kaya didn't move. She just sat there, frozen, staring at the screen where her perfect life had shattered. Whitney walked up beside her, quiet, calm. She looked down at Kaya. I hope you make better choices than I did, she said, then turned and walked away. Jonah touched my arm. You okay? I nodded once. Yeah. Inside, the DJ tried to salvage the night with some soft jazz. A few guests drifted toward the bar, unsure of whether to stay or run. I walked back into the tent. Kaya finally looked up. Her voice cracked. Why would you do this? I crouched beside her. Because I begged for years to be seen, and no one looked. You could have just talked to me. I did. You weren't listening. She wiped her face with a napkin. Dylan's gone. Good. I loved him. I stood. Then maybe now you'll learn what real love looks like? She didn't answer. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. Wait, she said. Is it all true? The mortgage? The money? I looked her in the eyes. Every word. She let go. I walked out of the tent for the last time. The next morning it was everywhere. The video had gone viral overnight. Brutal wedding toast exposes family lies was trending. A gossip blog picked it up. then a feminist podcast, then a legal TikTok creator who broke down the mortgage fraud in a 3-part series. Dylan's company issued a statement by noon. We have severed all ties. Kaya posted a black square with white text. Taking time to heal. Please respect my privacy. Mom deleted her Facebook. Dad's LinkedIn vanished. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, interview requests. I ignored them all. Jonah showed up at my door with bagels and coffee. You're famous, he said, handing me a cup. I didn't want fame. I know. We sat on my couch, the news playing in the background. A panel of strangers debated whether I was a hero or a monster. Jonah turned it off. They don't matter. I know. He looked at me. So what now? I pulled out a small envelope from the coffee table. I'm going to the clinic. He blinked. You're still doing IVF? I shook my head. No, I'm donating the rest of the fund. There's a woman on the wait list. Single mom, 2 failed cycles. She's next in line. Jonah smiled. That's beautiful. It's not forgiveness, I said. It's closure. He nodded. You're free now. I took a sip of coffee and looked out the window. Yeah, I said. I really am. The clinic smelled like lavender and antiseptic. Soft music played overhead, something instrumental and hopeful. A receptionist looked up from her screen as I approached the front desk. Hi, can I help you? I nodded, holding out the envelope. I'd like to make a donation for IVF assistance. I was told there's a woman on the wait list who's been trying for a while. She took the envelope, opened it, and blinked. This is a lot. 20,000, I said. Every cent I saved. She looked stunned. Do you want to remain anonymous? No, I said. She should know it came from someone who understands. The receptionist smiled, eyes soft. I'll make sure she knows she's not alone. I nodded and turned to leave. Out in the parking lot, the sun was warm, not blinding, just enough to feel real. Jonah waited by my car, leaning against the door, arms crossed. You did it? Yeah. He opened the passenger side and slid in. Want to drive? I started the engine. Where to? Anywhere but here. We ended up at the beach, the same one I'd driven to the day I found out my account was empty, only now I wasn't hollow, just lighter. We walked along the shoreline, shoes in hand, waves licking at our ankles. So, he said, what does life look like now? I shrugged. Quiet, honest, mine. He looked over. You ever think about trying again, the baby thing? I paused. I think about it. I just don't want to chase something out of grief anymore. He nodded. That makes sense. We sat in the sand watching the tide roll in. My phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. Hannah. Kaya's staying with a friend. She's not talking to Mom or Dad. Just thought you should know. I showed Jonah the screen. She'll be okay, he said. I hope so. He looked at me. You don't hate her, do you? I shook my head. No, I just finally stopped needing her to love me the way I wanted. He nudged my shoulder. You're kind of incredible. You know that? I smiled. Took me a while to believe it. A little girl ran past us, chasing a kite. Her mom followed, laughing, arms outstretched. I watched them for a moment, then stood. Come on, I said. Let's get ice cream. Jonah raised an eyebrow. You? Yeah, I think I'm allowed to want something sweet now. We walked toward the boardwalk, the wind picking up, the past finally behind me. Not erased, not forgotten, just done.